which and
The countdown has begun. Come on, it's time for fun. It's time to pick your favorites and decide what is shit. Are you ready for this? It's the tier list. Come on, let's go. It's time for the tier list show.
Welcome once again to the Tier List Show. We're back. That's right. It is. We had a week off for the Super Bowl, but we're back. We got 6 here, at least for 20 minutes, I guess. How you doing, 6?
Yeah, for 20 minutes. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing the best I can. We also have CC with us, and I know Nick is joining us soon. How you doing, CC?
I'm having a day.
Another day in paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Hopefully some of the other gentlemen will join us as well as we move along here, but we're counting down the MCU films, just the movies, not the series. Yeah. And surprisingly, we've seen most of these. Anyway, oh, here he is, the man of the hour.
He is.
Nick Weiser. He's muted.
Oh no! Hey, how's it going, guys? Sorry, I was like, is this show not happening? Because I saw the messages from a few hours ago. I was like, okay, maybe I'll get something. And also, I checked my phone. I'm like, oh, okay, it's happening, kids. I gotta rush. And I was like,
well, you know what the problem also was is like I was gonna do it. I'm like, I looked at all the MCU lists they had on Tier Maker.
yeah.
They all sucked and were like 2 or 3 years out of date.
Yeah. Oh.
And I wanted one with just the damn movies on it because otherwise we'd be here till next Sunday.
No, we don't need it. Especially with the amount of filler that's come out on the TV side. Yeah, I agree. I'm glad we stuck with the movies.
So here we go. I don't want to waste too much time because I know 6 has got a limited schedule here.
Yeah. Let's go.
So I don't know what end should we start at? Should we start at the back end?
I
didn't mix these up. These are actually all in order, I think, for once.
It looks like it's all theatrical order. Yeah, this is theatrical order. I can tell this is theatrical order. I know. Let's just start off with the theatrical release.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let
that
6.
makes sense. Yeah,
I'm gonna let 6 choose since she's the.
Well, I'm agreeing with Nick because Nick wanted this is Nick's
Iron
baby.
Man.
So yeah.
So we're starting with Iron Man. So going all the way back to 2008, right? 2008 when that came out.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man. I don't know if anybody's going to argue if we put that right away in the A tier. And I don't have an S tier because we needed an F tier for this shit.
yeah, it's a good move.
I agree.
And I still haven't figured out how to add a tier. I've tried. It doesn't work. If somebody knows how to do these things better than I do, I would love to have somebody help me out with these. But yeah.
Have you ever even Googled it?
Not really, but I'm lazy.
Okay.
I mean, I could. I
A
suppose
makes
watch a
sense
video.
at the top. I don't know what all this.
Oh
S
God,
bullshit
this
is.
is an A. Come
Yeah,
on,
that
this
S
is.
was.
I'll
This
get
is
rid of
one of
that.
those ones
Yeah.
where I rewatch and go back to every year and a half, and be like, yeah, this is awesome.
And the S tier, I think, only works for like actors and maybe directors, perhaps, or something like that. But anyhow, that being said, all right. So I don't think anybody's arguing that Iron Man's in the A tier.
Yeah, I probably watch this movie once a month. I absolutely adore this movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fair. I mean, it's got
Jeez.
great performances. It kicked off the MCU. It was transcendent for what it did. And it's such a fun time. And the dialogues, it's memorable. It's got the only Terrence Howard performance as Rhodey, which I thought he was a great James Rhodes. I thought he was great. It's a shame that it didn't work out that with him in Marvel because he was very outspoken. Even I think he kind of spilled the beans on it on what happened on Rogan, but I still need to watch it. But yeah,
didn't he go a little crazy though too? Because I think 6, you watched that whole interview. And
I don't know. Did he?
A little off his rocker.
Fucking
for some reason.
batshit crazy.
Yeah,
and Joe Rogan's
really?
sitting there like, oh yeah, really? Oh, that's fascinating.
Ah,
That's what Joe does though.
he didn't push back on anything. I mean, that
To
man
be
was
fair, I used to say
gibberish.
6. I used to say the same criticism of Joe, and the reason why I stopped is because I realized he does that with 8 out of 10 of his guests. And I think, and no, that's a good thing and a bad thing. The good part is it shows that he knows how to listen and he's trying to be there to hear someone's story. But the bad is there are times where it is necessary for a little pushback. But that's why I guess we get for him being too good of a listener, because he's literally listening to understand someone, not listening to reply.
Right. Because if somebody keeps pushing back on you, you're not going to,
And eventually you start losing guests because
you're just
of
going to
it.
be done. Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess in that sense, in a business sense, it's good. But yeah, for us listeners, it is frustrating for us. So I feel you on that, 6. I don't disagree.
All right, well, let's keep moving along here. We got the Incredible Hulk next, from 2009 or 8 or whatever the hell it was. That
It was
came out.
1 month after Iron Man
That's right,
hit
yeah.
theaters. I remember it because I remember saw this. From phases 1 through 3, I saw all these movies on their opening screenings. So up until Endgame, I was opening for all these. So I remember this like it was yesterday. For me, this is gonna get a B. For some, I know they're gonna probably rate it lower, but I truly feel like we got really good performances by Edward Norton. And I like seeing the Hulk in action. We saw his moves, the big fight in Harlem. I enjoy this one, and I have rewatched it too, so I can say I still feel fondly.
I
I'm
actually
gonna
like it quite a bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that with the B because, well, first of all, Edward Norton, not Mark Ruffalo, so that just bonus points right there. But it's also it's coming, in phase 1 at a time where they were willing to experiment a bit more. It wasn't just all. And I love Guardians of the Galaxy, right? But eventually things did sort of become a little bit too much of a parody in that sense. And the Hulk, at the very least, I can look back on it and say that it stands apart. It's different than all the, it's unique. And I think that in retrospect gives it a few extra points as well.
Agreed. I like too that there's influence taken from the TV show too. Like Edward Norton was very vocal about how much he loved the TV show. And the more I watched it, the more I noticed the influence of the show pouring into the Bruce Banner aspect of the character.
I don't love this one. This is a C for me.
That's fair.
Edward Norton is my least favorite Hulk. So I mean, if I'm doing a Marvel rewatch, I'll of course watch this movie, but it's not definitely, it's my least favorite Hulk anything.
It's funny because this is the only one I've rewatched of the classic films in the last probably year or so.
It's good, dude.
At the time it came out, I mean, I was Iron Man I was looking forward to. I was looking more forward to Hulk because I've always been a pretty big Hulk fan.
Okay.
And so far, this is the best Hulk film we've ever gotten, outside of maybe Ragnarok, but we'll talk about that later because that's going to be a big debate, I bet. I'm not going to fight for A, but I do think it does deserve to be at least in the B.
Yeah.
We got, what, 2 Bs and a C? What did you say, CC? I can't remember now.
I went with Nick on this and gave it a B.
B, okay. Well, I'm going to go with the 3 Bs on this one.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, and then we got Iron Man 2, which I think will be a little bit more debated. Because I don't hate it, but I understand why people dislike it.
Yeah, I like this movie, but I absolutely don't love it. Even though there's things I love about it. There's a great cameo by Elon Musk in this movie where him and Tony kind of like have a very brief meet, which is really amusing to see, especially in retrospect of things. It's kind of like when you see Donald Trump at the White House thinking, oh my God, this guy was in WWE at one point. It's just one of those things that's funny to look back on. But the Mickey Rourke's character, who was like this crossover between Crimson Dynamo and Whiplash, was kind of off, and they were trying to do the Demon and Bottle story to mixed results. I'm going to go with a C on this one because there's still some great Iron Man action. You do get great Downey performance as well. So I'd go with a C.
I would put this in a B. I love Iron Man 2. I love Mickey Rourke. I love his character. I think I have fond memories of this because I can think about where I was working and we would have this playing quite often. And so it was just kind of a good time in my life. So I think kind of the experience of Iron Man 2 is part of why I'm giving it such a high. But I'm just such a freaking huge Iron Man fan.
No,
He's probably in my top 3.
I get that. That's valid. Now, the more I think about it, I did like the debut of Black Widow. I thought she came off very strong. Scarlett Johansson in this movie. I thought this was a really great introduction for her. And I mean, I'll share the storyline, but this movie is memorable for not only my theatrical experience, but how I got pulled over for one of the weirdest outcomes ever after this movie. And yeah, that's a story for another day, but it's a great pulled over story. But yeah, anyways, let's CC and Tom Heather Iron Man 2 score.
Yeah, what do you think of CC? What do you think?
I mean, I'm a little bit biased because I was after Iron Man 1, I always follow Iron Man 1 with Iron Man 2. And so it feels like a little bit of a letdown because it's not Iron Man 1. And there's another thing that bothers me, and it's that kind of repetitious thing where superhero fights other superhero with the same powers. And I can, that's fine to a point, but I don't need to see it in 20 different movies. So I don't love that either. But
you know what Iron Man 2 kind of reminds me of, even though I just gave it a B. You know how in Captain America, he's, he gets the serum and he turns into super sexy built man's man kind of guy. And then they take him and they kind of castrate Captain America and they make him go on these tours of, he just becomes a showpiece. I feel like that's kind of what happened to Iron Man, because they introduced Iron Man to a lot of people, because most people probably, I don't know, Nick, what do you think? Have most people read the comics who go to?
Oh God, no. Yeah, and I say that as someone who liked the comics. Now I don't have like the most amount. Let's just say on like our mutual friend D. Bud Martin, who knows his Iron Man. He runs circles around me when it comes to Iron Man. He was like at best on his best day. Like he had some popular storylines. He had a cartoon or two, even those had short runs. He was maybe a B-list character on his best day, but on the average, unfortunately, C. And I'm not talking about in terms of quality, but I'm talking about in terms of how well known as. I'd make the argument that the Hulk was actually far better known than Iron Man was prior to this movie coming out. And that's not even because of the 2003 Ang Lee movie. It's just he had a big following because, well, he's a big green guy who could transform. What was that not to relate for any guy with loads of testosterone? We all have our moment and we lose our crap. All dudes can relate to that. Obviously, there's more context for Hulk, but you get the basic point.
Yeah. So basically, they introduce Iron Man to the world, and then they make him really cool and everything sexy about him and the suit and his lifestyle. And then in Iron Man 2, I feel like it just became commercialized, even though, of course, they want to sell toys and they want to sell this and that. It starts off being commercialized, but I just feel like it kind of had a similar
okay,
journey.
So what's your score then?
Oh, I already gave mine and then I interrupted Cece.
You were B, right?
I was B, yeah.
Okay, and then Nick, you were C.
I'm going to go C as well.
Correct.
So we got 2 C's and a B. The audience is really heavy C on this one, so I think I'm going to have to go C on this one. All right, then we got Thor, the first Thor, with Chris Hemsworth, obviously. Where would we place this one? Because I don't know. This one's probably, in my opinion, the weakest of the first phase.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you guys think? Let's start with you, 6, actually.
A B. I love how they introduced the character, and I absolutely adore Natalie Portman. But I want to put it in A, but then I can't. It doesn't even belong sitting next to Iron Man.
Right.
So I gotta go B. Yeah, I understand what you're saying about being weak.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a B for me.
CC?
I'm with 6 on this one, actually. I mean, I love Natalie Portman. I don't mind watching her in this movie. I like it better than the second Thor movie, and it also kind of they were having fun with it. I have fun watching them just kind of wandering around town. It's just like there's a camaraderie that I think they pulled off pretty well. So, is it the best MCU movie? No, and I agree. I wouldn't put it in the A category either. It's not Iron Man, but I if results may vary from person to person, for me, I actually quite enjoy this one.
Yeah, I'm thinking B. I'm thinking B tier. It's solid, but it's not like again. It's probably the weakest of the first phase.
Lisa
But
said Thor had
Lisa.
really blonde eyebrows. That's me. Actually, there's a story behind that. When he had gotten casted for the part, they actually asked him to dye his eyebrows along. That's why his eyebrows.
I never noticed that till now that was brought up. Now I can see it in my head. I'm like, you're right, because that's the only one he does have like really bushy blonde eyebrows.
Yeah.
Then we got Captain America, the first Avenger. I'm gonna start with this one. I think this is like the most underrated Marvel film. I think it's almost a perfect film. The only thing I don't really like about it is that there's so much in the last, third that, sets up for the next upcoming films. But other than that, I think it's a brilliant film that it gets overlooked all the time. So I'm going to say it's A tier. What do you say, Six?
Absolutely A. This one's right up there with Iron Man for me. I adore Captain America. I love the whole, national pride, and he might have the body of, an 8-year-old boy, but he has the heart of a lion. And I fucking love that, and I love the promotion of people who are willing to serve their country. And I can't say enough about it. It's like you said, it's nearly a perfect film.
It's making me cry.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones.
I just want to wave the flag.
You're going to put that needle in his arm and it's going to go straight through. I just love Tommy Lee Jones in that. So yeah, what do you think, CC? A tier, or where are you going?
Oh yeah, this is
okay.
this is the actual Captain America movie with Captain America in it, and I don't know if they can I don't know if they can make this movie today.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
Nick?
I'll put it along. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to jump out.
I'll be quick.
Go
ahead, answer, Tom. Give me 1 minute.
That's what he said.
Oh, he's good. Go ahead, finish, CC. That was my fault.
No, I put it alongside Iron Man, especially if we're counting the importance of a movie in the score, which I suppose we have done in previous weeks. The importance of this movie is pretty obvious.
Yeah, it did bring Captain America up to a bigger level than he ever has before, Ben. It's probably since World War II, I'd imagine. As far as popular and known. And Nick, are you back yet?
Come out?
I think this one did come out in 2009, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll check that. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I'm back. Sorry.
It's all right.
For me, this gets an easy A, and that has nothing to do with
I thought you were going to say E.
Oh. No, this has nothing to do with, because it looks better now. No, I love this movie. Then, once again, I saw opening night, and I loved how it was a great love letter to the Golden Age. It was the same director as The Rocketeer, another one of my all-time favorite movies. Great origin story, really great cast between Chris Evans, Sebastian Stan, Hugo Weaving, Tommy Lee Jones, Haley Atwell. The fact that we even got Captain America in a red, white, and blue suit was awesome. They did the origin story as it should have been, and I love seeing him in action. Also, it was one of the defining examples of a movie of true, genuine heroism, because as the Critical Drinker pointed out in his video, you see Steve sacrifice himself with a pretend bomb for the great, because he just wants to help out. And then you see how Carol Danvers has this snotty, unlikable attitude that there's nothing to love about her because she has nothing selfless about her, where Steve Rogers is the embodiment of just being good for the sake of good. So easy A.
All right. Well, we're losing 6. So as she's leaving, I'm going to let her rate the Avengers and give her an outro. Thank you for being here, 6. I know you only got a short time to be here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. Avengers is like B+. I saw this with a couple of girlfriends, and we had a ball. It was like a party film, popcorn film, obviously. Well, all these are popcorn films, but totally my, part of my first steps into, really the comic book world outside of Star Wars comics. I own hundreds of Star Wars comics, but, very few of anything else. And I never really was interested in reading outside of that. So, but yeah, I love the Avengers. I'm gonna say be on it though. So, but thank you for having me. Everybody, hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and have a beautiful evening.
Drive safe. Don't work too hard.
Never.
Take care. All right. So I think that's a B from 6. So CC, the Avengers.
I also kind of agree with 6 on this one, in that like I appreciate the importance of the movie, and I enjoy watching it. The third act has some great scenes, but it's also like the first time they're doing a real team up movie, and it's a lot to juggle, and it doesn't drop the ball like, say, you know, if we're having too many characters in, like, say, Spider-Man 3. It's a well-made movie, and I love Joss Whedon, but do I like it as much as Iron Man and, you know, and Captain America? No, right? So I mean, if I really have to, I would put it third of those 3, but it's also hard not to give it an A. That makes sense. It's a very, very important movie in the franchise, and it's still a great movie. It does hold up.
See, I would go the other. I would say of all the earlier films, this is one that hasn't held up as well. Like, I enjoy it, but the genericness of some of it has really kind of fallen off, and some of the Joss Whedon isms have really kind of aged poorly. But Nick, what do you say to the Avengers?
Absolute A. I rewatched the crap out of this movie, quoted the dialogue on this so many times. The way that they were able to bring these characters together, and it made it feel like, okay, this could get easily jumbled. It didn't feel that way one bit to me. I thought Loki was a great villain. He was the first great MCU villain. On top of that, I love seeing how they have the rivalries that start off. Yeah, it's formulaic and conventional in its execution, but for me, was it really well done in all of it? Hell yeah. And of course, we had the first glimmer of Thanos in the after credit scene. And of course, the music is great too. Love the music. I love it. And of course, you get small versions of some of the fights we've all want to see. Thor versus Hulk, stuff like that. The guys have their little tussles before they, get the band together. I love this movie. I wore out my Blu-ray of this.
You can't actually do that. Your player will go to hell before the disc wears out. You scratched it enough. I don't know. Anyhow, I get the point. You're probably being facetious or hyperbolic, but
yes.
On that note, I'm more on the B side of this. But I'm going to leave this one up to the chat if you haven't figured that out already. Because this is the first time I think that... Yeah, and I think you guys have already kind of spoken on this, but I'll leave it up for a little bit longer as we get into Iron Man 3, because this is going to be the one that I think is going to start one of the bigger debates as far as, is it a good movie? Isn't it a good movie? I don't know. I think it's aged a bit better in some respects, but I do understand why a lot of people don't like it, because he's only Iron Man in, 10 minutes of the whole movie? If that. So I get it. So, and some people really hate the Mandarin character. But I don't know, Nick, what do you say on Iron Man 3?
I'm gonna go with a C that really teeters on a D. And why I say that is because there's some really great heroic moments. There's some really great Tony Stark reacting to, holy crap, I'm not the only one, out there type of thing. But the fact that it was basically a Tony Stark movie and barely an Iron Man movie, especially when they have that one scene where the armor saved all those people and they only find out he's not in the suit. It kind of like, I feel like that kind of hurt that scene for me. And it was a really well put together scene. And, it was one of those like stand up and cheer moments where he saves all the people and then he's on the armor. Like, oh, well, that's kind of hollow. And then, of course, the Mandarin thing made me angry because the build up to that was really good. The promo to that was really good. And then they fumbled it with Trevor Slattery. Oh, my goodness. I knew something was off this entire movie. I didn't know it was going to be the twist that it was. But, man, I'm like, something feels really off about this. Really off. And then that twist happened. I was not happy. And Guy Pearce also deserved better. Yeah, I'm gonna go to C, but I guess C minus.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't disagree with you at all, especially the Mandarin. That for me, if there was any chance that I was going to because I did feel like this movie was trying to be the better.
Is that
than
really
Iron
as
Man
bad,
2
or is
movie.
the one we really got in fucking Shang-Chi any better? Or wherever it did
it's
show
just
up,
like
I can't remember now.
You're setting the bar so low it's through the floor and about halfway to China. Within the context of Iron Man 3 itself, I understood that it was trying to say, quote unquote, be better than Iron Man 2. I don't know that I believe that it was.
I honestly hated the Guy Pearce character more here. Lisa's right. That's
Altered
what I say. This
Stallion,
movie,
yeah,
this
Altered
movie
Stallion was
suffered a
not good.
lot from issues, and I know we didn't really cover it at the time because I don't even think Midnight Edge was a thing, and I definitely wasn't part of Midnight Edge yet then. But so I don't think I think the first thing we did was Age of Ultron on the channel, if I remember right. So this would have been pre to that. But it's like this movie had so many reshoots and changes behind the scenes because like initially that one chick character had a bigger part and they changed all that shit. And yeah, this movie was kind of a mess. So I get it. And I guess my big question is it better or worse than Iron Man 2? Right? Like that's the thing. Now you guys, I don't know. See, to me, it's almost even keel. Like I have just about as many issues with both, and I enjoy just about as many scenes in both.
Is it weird that I feel like Iron Man 3 has a few good high moments?
No,
but
I just
the
said
overall
that it does.
move, the overall quality of the movement to me is a little bit inferior. Iron Man
that's
2
what I'm asking. So there you go.
Better, but the highs in 3 are a bit higher.
But does it deserve to be in that D range? I don't know.
I did not like the final set piece
hard.
personally.
Let the chat
I
have
don't
that
know.
one. I think the
I don't know
chat
if you
deserves
feel
to
any-
have their say on that.
What your opinions on that is, but I did not like the final set piece. They're just kind of, if okay, he's Iron Man, he can fly, so you maybe utilize that. But they're just kind of like they're in an industrial yard, hopping from pipe to pipe. Didn't do it for me. And that in combination with Slattery and everything else, and just so for me, less than Iron Man 2. That would be my vote. Don't everyone talk at once?
I was thinking about starting to pull, but you know what? I think you guys have made me convinced that it probably belongs in the D range.
Okay, well, let's keep it at D.
And honestly, I think Thor: The Dark World kind of belongs there too. To be honest with you, I don't hate it as much probably, but I'm willing to listen to arguments for the C.
Thor: The Dark World is probably my least favorite. One of my very least favorite of the.
You guys got to remember, we got much worse films coming up down the road. So I have this weird feeling that some of these movies are going to get shifted. This is going to be one of those tier lists where we're actually going to shift more things than we ever have before. I bet, and it's not going to be just because of my willy-nilly bullshit.
So be it. If that's what's got to get done as we go along, we'll figure out as we go along.
All right. Well, let's start then. CC, what would you say then? Solid grade.
I get what you're saying. It's almost though as if, spoiler alert, everything after Endgame is an F, which is probably not literally true, but in the context of what we're looking at,
not far off.
D for me. Yeah, it's the Dark World is definitely one of my very least favorite of the first 3 phases.
So D for Dark World.
It's the things I loved about the first Thor movie just were not in this one. Yeah. I see in the chat Z's. That's kind of
I wish we could put it,
They're trying to be serious in this movie, and it didn't. I just couldn't.
Nick, what do you say?
I'm gonna go with that F for the Dark World because
man,
I know, and I felt that way then. I felt that way now, and I've tried rewatching this a chance. My biggest problem with this movie is they brought in a great villain in Malekith the Accursed, and they fumbled the ball hard with this villain. I can also tell this movie was jumbled together too. They must have done some reshoots because this movie was a bit choppy. The only thing that this movie gets right is Thor's in character, like he is in the first movie and then the first 2 Avengers movie. this is one of the last moments where we see Thor as Thor and not Thor being Chris Hemsworth.
Oh yeah. Fat dad bod Thor.
I'd even make the argument that what even Ragnarok, which there are some shining moments at, but the problem is he was less acting like Thor and more being the Hemsworth then too, because he's getting really chatty Cathy between that and Endgame. He was really chatty Cathy. I was just like, yeah. And I feel like The Dark World with a title like that, it should have been a bit more of a serious movie. And I feel like the humor, and that was definitely where you could see the humor not working. It wasn't like overly, funny and humorous, but the bits that were there really did not land for me. So I'm gonna go with an F on this one.
Well, since there's much worse fare than that.
Oh yeah, and there is.
List coming up.
If there's
I gotta
an
leave
F
it in
list,
D for now.
That's fine. If there's an F list, it would be at the top ranking of the S for me.
And a lot of that is I gotta at least stick up for like Tom Hiddleston's great in it.
Yes,
regardless
I do
of the
agree.
rest of the film, Tom Hiddleston's pretty good in it.
In isolation, he is awesome in the movie. I love him in the movie.
And him and Chris Hemsworth have some of their better character moments in this film as far as their chemistry.
I agree. They're great on screen together. Just the movie made me so mad. Like the Mandarin, you had two big time villains and you fumbled the ball, which is already sad because even when the MCU is running strong, phase 1 and 2 and 3, one of the consistent issues that they had was the villain issues. And Loki was like proven to be an exception. And they should have, hit the ground running at that. Okay, hey, look, we got Loki right. Now let's get Malekith and the Mandarin right. And we get 2 straight movies where they get some of the bigger villains and they fumbled the ball big time.
Indeed, do. So next up, we've got, I'm going to leave it in the D's. Next up, I think we got our next A tier film. At least, I don't know too many people who'd argue with Winter Soldier. I mean, one of the few sequels that lives up to the original, and some would probably even argue is better than the original. I wouldn't, but some would. But yeah, it's your guys' chance to argue me out of the A, and I don't hear anybody like jumping at the...
No.
Nick?
Bucky.
Come on, man! It's an A. The whole espionage spy thriller story, taking straight from the great Ed Brubaker comics of the mid 2000s. What a movie! And showing Captain America in action. I remember being at the midnight showing for this, and I remember we were all so excited. We took up a full row of dudes, testosterone out, ready for this movie. Needless to say, we got our cravings from watching Captain America beat the crap out of bad guys. And a great introduction to the Falcon, by the way. Great introduction by Anthony Mackie as a Falcon. He was awesome. Oh, man. Loved it.
What were you saying, CC?
Well, actually, just to tail off of what Nick was saying, you're right. We got Bucky in this movie. We got Falcon. We got everything that could have made a great fourth film in the franchise if they hadn't totally screwed that up. I mean, I'd have to go back and watch the first 2 movies back to back to say for sure which one I think is better. But I mean, it's kind of irrelevant. They're both seminal movies of the early. Well,
yeah, and I mean, even though it builds upon what's before it, at least it stands on its own regardless. So. Yeah, I definitely got to keep it in the A tier. I don't think that's going anywhere.
I also love the third act. As much as I said that I did not like the third act in Iron Man 3, this is the opposite. I thought the third act of this movie was fantastic. It's one of those things where if you're not crying at the end of that movie, you're not feeling.
It's probably one of the most perfect films in the MCU. Like, I mean, again, up against the first Iron Man and first Captain America in that respect. Like, as far as solid story, sits on its own. You don't need to see a bunch of other shit to get it.
Yeah, I think that was one. And I talk about some of the weakness of the early MCU. Now, one of the consistent strengths that the early MCU has, how well these movies were able to stand on their own 2 feet. Whether it was the best ones, the good ones, fairly good ones, or the not good ones. They were really accessible movies, which I think worked in its favor rather than make, as we talk about, when you watch a movie, it shouldn't have to feel like a homework assignment. It should feel
Yep.
fun if you have to seek out stuff. Oh, okay. Hey, this movie is great. Oh, there's more. What else is there? Not a, oh, great. I don't understand this movie. I have to now watch that because I don't understand this. Ugh.
Well, another one that actually we got a handful of them coming up here that actually kind of stand on their own really well. So this is actually, in my opinion, pretty much the phase where Marvel hit its stride just before the peak and fall off. So let's get rolling here. We got Guardians of the Galaxy. Y'all are gonna have to fight me to get this out of the A tier because this is one of my favorite Marvel films.
It's nothing to fight. The opening sequence is it could stand as one of the greatest sequences in movies, period, almost. I mean, that's a strong statement when there's been a lot of great movies over the years, but I mean, certainly within the MCU, is there a better 10 minutes? It's just...
That first 10 minutes is funny. Go ahead.
The problem, I guess, is that it also it set up everything to follow about movies that were going to copy Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right,
Can't fault Guardians of the Galaxy for that itself, right? But it's like no movie ever did it the way that this movie did it. Mm-hmm. Everyone just kind of tried to do it afterwards. Particularly Thor.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's one I think we're going to end up debating more on. Nick, what about you?
I'm going to be the contrarian here. I am going to go with a B on this. I love it as a movie. There's some really outstanding character work. I love Rocket and Groot in it. My hold downs on this one is Ronan the Accuser had great material to begin with, and I thought he was very well casted. He just came up a bit short. He wasn't bad. He just came up a bit short. He was definitely a lot better than Malekith, a lot better than the non-Mandarin. And as someone who knows the books, the Dan Abnett, Andy Lanning run, I base Star-Lord and all of them based off of that. So some of the personality changes are a bit, different to my likings, but they're not bad at all. So still a really great movie in its own isolation. If I had no nature of the comics and based off, I probably would rate it A. I get why people see it as an A, but for me, it's a B.
I get where you're coming from, but yeah, like to me, this is a great film, and that first 10 minutes of the movie you brought up, CC, because I remember when this movie came out. And I've told this story before, so I apologize to those who've heard it. But like my cousin, she was so pissed at all of us because like we had told her at like one of the family functions, like, oh yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is great. You don't even have to have seen all the other Marvel movies to get it. It's a lot like Star Wars. It's funny as shit. It's the funniest movie ever. Blah blah blah. The next family thing we have, like whatever it was, Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever it was, she comes up to us as we're talking about movies or whatever, and she goes, "You assholes! You made me go see that Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and I was bawling my brains out within the first few minutes. Y'all told me it was so funny. It's bullshit."
Right.
Oh,
she's fucking dying of cancer, and the kids all like, "Oh, come back, come back!" And I'm crying and bawling. I'm like, "This is supposed to be funny." She was pissed at us for that.
I mean, it gets funny.
That's what I told her. I'm like, well, it gets better. It's like, shit, it doesn't matter. And when women get to that point, it's just like, okay, you just gotta agree with them.
Slowly back away.
Yeah, just slowly back away. Jeremy Winfield has been a member for 20 freaking months. Says everything after Infinity War was dismal, Disney minus series and all. Need to Thanos snapped. It needs to be Thanos snapped. I agree. Oh, well, prepare yourselves for Ironheart and Wonder Man. Yeah, Wonder Bread Man, basically. And then Matthew Hoban sends us a little tip here. He says to add S tier, click on the gear row A and click a row above, and then click new and change text from new to S. Okay, I'll try that for next time since we've already gotten rolling here. S tier is kind of a weird thing with me, is because you got to sit there and explain it to everybody, and everybody it kind of means something different. But that's good to know, so I'll keep that in mind. So to add another tier, you click in the gear on the row and click A right above. Okay, and then so if I want to add one below,
I've seen people do A plus and A plus plus. which at least makes
I don't
a
want to
little more
get too
sense.
convoluted here because then we get
Yeah.
But anyhow, let's get back into the mix. We've got coming up next, Age of Ultron. Now, compared to the first Avengers, I would argue this one aged a little bit better. But I know some people this was never a favorite of theirs. So, CC, where would you rate Age of Ultron?
I kind of actually agree with you that in retrospect, I feel like I get more entertainment out of it. But it's really the lot. Okay, I guess you can't really bring a whole lot of logic to a superhero movie. But when I'm watching this thing, especially in the third act, and that island is going higher and higher in the sky, and they're at like 20,000,
Freaking
25,000 feet.
awesome.
It is, but there's also this logic part of my brain is that, like, how are they fighting right now? How are
Logic
they
in a
not
movie with
passing out?
Asgard involved. Come on, CC.
All right. I get it. Yeah, it's just, yeah, no. I can't really argue with you. It's just, it always throws me off a little bit.
Give me a grade.
B. It's not an A for me. It's just not. It's not with the A's.
Fair enough.
But I agree with you that in retrospect, it's entertaining.
All right, Nick.
I'm conflicted on between A or B. I think I'm gonna go with a B. And what brings it down to a B, because I normally most instances this would actually get an A, but what brings it down for me is the when Thor and Hawkeye go off on their own weird discovery journeys. I get they want to expand Hawkeye's character, show he has depth to him, because Hawkeye was basically in the first movie for like 5 minutes. But some of the characters go off in their own journeys was, you could have taken that stuff out and we didn't need it. And also the Hulk and Black Widow romance was a bit weird, considering, especially for me, I have a great memory when it comes to Marvel. I'm like, hold up, Hulk as Betty. Yeah, I know it's been a few years since we've seen her in the Incredible Hulk, but really, we're just gonna act like that didn't happen. And that's when I remember people were like, "Oh, was that movie non-canon?" I'm like, "Oh, it was. Come on, that's why Stark was in the movie." But yeah, those things. But the chemistry, the action, also that speech Hawkeye gave to Wanda about the minute you get out of that room, you're an Avenger. The great introduction to Vision when he used the line, "Well, I was born yesterday." Absolutely awesome stuff. And of course, that big battle with the freaking giant, the hill in the sky. I love that third act. That was, to me, awesome. Absolutely awesome. But sadly, the things that brought it down to me brought it down enough that I'm going to have to weigh it at a B.
You know, I don't know. It just, every time I get chills when James Spader comes in and there are no strings on me.
Oh, he was great. I liked him in the movie. He was awesome.
Yeah. That he is so, like, because we bitch about no good villains.
Yeah,
in the MCU.
I liked
Ultron was amazing for a villain.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like again, I agree with you guys, and the audience is kind of, they're, you know, a little all over the place, but mostly in that BC range. So I guess I'll settle with a B on that one.
I mean, I would have liked to have seen them get a little deeper with the whole artificial intelligence thing. Like they go there, but there was more potential.
Did I really need to see Thor go swimming and some weird water thing, and how he had to go on some weird self-discovery thing? Though it was just like, this is really awkward. It was like that scene in the second Matrix where you saw a bunch of bodies doing some weird dance, and you're like, okay, is this it's leading to a Morpheus speech that had nothing to do with anything. So yeah, it's just so weird how they had some of this stuff in the movie. But hey, the highs at least made up for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, then we got Ant-Man, another one that stands pretty good on its own for the most part.
I love this movie.
Where did you guys rank it? Yeah, go ahead, CC.
I would actually put it in an A, and maybe I don't know if it belongs there, but again, kind of the way that I enjoyed the Hulk for being creative and unique. I thought that Ant-Man really stands out apart from the other movies, certainly surrounding it in this era. Especially like with the camera work, the way they got creative with the whole concept of Ant-Man, which I didn't really feel as much in the second and the third movie. But here they really just did some really, really fun things with the size. And I love trains. And you got like, Ant-Man and trains and stuff like that.
Oh, that was great.
I just like this is maybe more than any movie in the first three phases. I'll just sit there and I'm gonna have a smile on my face though from front to back of this movie. I'm laughing. It's a good time.
It's the last time the MCU had really excellent special effects too, and we have a Canadian Scott joining us.
Good evening, hosers.
Scottish bastard.
That's great.
How you doing?
You're Canadian.
Yeah. I don't boo nothing though. I'm not a booer. I don't boo.
You lie. No, I'm just kidding. So welcome to the program. You're just coming in as we're getting to Ant-Man here.
Yeah, I like Ant-Man. Am I? I don't know if everybody else does. I've always liked Ant-Man. That first Ant-Man movie. Thought it was good.
You like him a little?
I like it a little tiny. I like it a tiny bit.
Just a tiny bit?
It's,
So what would you give it as far as a rating?
I mean, it's kind of like a B plus for me. But definitely at least a B.
So pushing into the A's? Okay, so
it's probably not A. If look at what else is in A there, it probably is just it's probably a B.
I can see the argument because CC was half-ass had me thinking, this might belong in the A tier category.
It's close.
I mean, it does still have some of the Edgar Wright written stuff in it. I mean,
it's before the humor got too.
Yeah,
forced.
and it works for the film. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you got a point there. So see, here we go. So Nick, I'm going to leave this more up to you, I guess, since you're the comic book guy. Does Ant-Man live up to the hype?
No, as a comic fan, this is tough because there's parts of it that would actually give it an A. Like, I get where CC's coming from. Because, like, yeah, sure, he's not the original Ant-Man, it's Hank Pym, but what was cool is they acknowledged that Hank Pym was in this continuity, and they passed it down to Scott Lang. So I thought that was really cool. And, of course, the effects were really awesome. The humor was well played. And also, guys, I fought an Avenger and I didn't die. What a lie. Because when he ran to the Falcon, oh, dude, come on. That was amazing.
I'm assuming you like the smaller stakes involved in this movie.
Yeah, and it was cool that you had a really personal story with Scott Lang and trying to win his daughter Cassie legally and emotionally. So I thought that was really awesome. You got great performance. What's his name? Something Pena. Michael Pena. He's great. Paul Rudd is great. Michael Douglas is great. Man, this is tough for me. I guess I'm gonna go the B, and the only thing that prevents it from an A, I feel like we could have just gotten a little bit more with Yellow Jacket. I felt like he had some decent material, but it could have been even better than what was getting. But I could tell like he was better than Malekith and the Mandarin. So I'm gonna go with a B. Teetering on A minus.
With that.
It's tough because some of the highs in this movie are A++ for me.
You just made the best argument for it not being an A, and that is that Yellow Jacket is a weak villain in the film, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Although he should be much better.
He puts on a great fight. They could just give him more material. That's all for me.
I mean, the audience, I think, will shoot me if I put it in the A's anyway, for some reason.
Yeah. The father-daughter family values really hold up.
Oh,
that's
so
kind of
good.
the thing that I have to think about. I have kind of like this bias towards it because of that, and I think Nick's probably the same thing. Being a single father is we can relate to it in that respect, that it does kind of resonate with us in that way. But I can put that bias aside, and I see what you guys are saying. It's more of a B. But I think up next, I think we're gonna get some super chats before we get to the Civil War.
Sure.
We got Lisa sending in 2 schmackaroo. Says, love the format and great discussion. Well, thank you, Lisa. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Jason Webster sends in a 5 Australian dollary do. It says, second half of the MCU. Phase 3 is where it ran out of steam for me. Phase 4 and 5 is where MCU became the MCU. Yeah, pretty much. We're getting there, kids. We are getting there. So let's not waste any more time, and let's get to Civil War, because I think this is an A. What do you say, CC?
I agree with you, but it's also, for me, it's the beginning of the end. And I don't know if I'm overthinking this, but there's a scene early in the movie where they're talking about the Sokovia Accords. And I swear when I watch that and I watch the way the actors are interacting with each other and talking about it, and when you think about what they're reading out there, and it literally feels like they're talking about the fact that the MCU was sold to Disney. And there's a new set of rules. Like the Sokovia Accords are Disney.
I never thought of it that way before. That is interesting.
And it's like they're telling us in real time on the screen that it's over.
Well, even though Disney had bought them a couple of years before that, you're not right. I see where you're going with it to a point.
I don't know if I'm overthinking it, but I mean, yeah, a couple of years, but that's production time too, right? I mean, anything that
true. That's a good point. Although I don't know if that really rates into the film itself overall. But
no, it's just it's something I think about alongside of the film, especially when I reflect on what came after it.
I will now when I watch it. That's for sure. I never did before, but
I mean, for sure, the movie itself, you could argue possibly the best of the first three phases. It's certainly an A. And again, talking about the importance of a great third act, the fight scene, and I said about why I don't like the fight scene in the final fight in Iron Man 3. This is the complete opposite. This is an intimate hand-to-hand combat in a small, simple set piece, right? And it has given time to breathe on why they're in conflict with one another, and you believe it. You have to deliver as an actor, and they have a great cast of actors who can deliver.
Well, and it is kind of almost like a Superman versus a regular man kind of fight, even though Tony does have the Iron Man suit. It's almost like a Batman v. It did beat. That was the funny thing, is it was a much better Batman versus Superman movie than what BBS turned out to be that year, because at the end of the day, when you look at it, it's like Captain is fighting not so much for himself, but he's fighting Tony at the same time, trying to not kill Tony. It's like this whole like twisted kind of thing, like Superman would kind of be. And speaking of twisted, here's a twisted gentleman I know. Brahma Bull. How you doing, Brahma?
Hey, pretty good. How are you?
Hanging in there, doing the best we can. So CC, you're gonna say about an A, I think, is your final score.
I'll give this one an A for sure. It's certainly something you can screw up, but they didn't do it here. They pulled it off.
All right, Nick, I know it has very little to do with its namesake, but since you're the comic guru, what do you say to Civil War as a film?
It doesn't have everything to do. Like, it's got the basic idea, accident goes wrong, government wants to get involved. Cap and Iron Man are the guys who are leading their teams on who they side with. So you do now. The ending is a bit different. I'd actually make the argument this is one of the few endings where the movie actually does it better. Please don't kill me, Mark Miller. You still know I love you. This movie does the ending better. I think the action is great. What I love is that even though this movie wasn't originally supposed to be just a regular straight ahead sequel, this movie changed its story to alter to the response of BVS, and not only did it do it way better, it made such a difference when you had the stakes of watching Cap and Iron Man for 7 years on screen, growing up together. You really felt the emotions between each other in that third act. It was a stellar third act. The only thing that slightly brings it down was the arc with Baron Zemo. A little convoluted at times. Now the stuff involved with him at the third act is good. But throughout the movie,
you're not wrong. Like his plot, he requires some fucking stretch and shit. Yeah,
it really did. But there's some, once again, the emotional moments, the emotional beats of this movie are absolutely incredible. The action is great. I love it. And also, for me, this is probably my second favorite Tom Holland Spider-Man performance. We didn't know he was going to be Iron Boy. This just felt like him being Spider-Man. And it just to us was watching him blend in with the MCU. I did love that. So, of course, it was cool to see the Raft brought into the MCU as well. So, yeah, a movie, easy.
Oh, you had to invoke Iron Boy already. 70s. What do you say?
The thing about this movie is, and to this day, and I've watched it a few times, I still can't figure out why everybody picks a side. Like, what are the there's a little bit. I always find it a little bit confusing in terms of wait,
Their
first of all,
personal
there's a lot-
motivations.
yeah, there's a
Or-
lot of characters in this one.
Well, yeah.
Might sound like a terrible critique of a. I think up to this point there were the most characters.
It was, but
To you,
I think it worked out because you knew who needed to be the main characters and you knew who needed to be the side characters. I feel like in that context it worked.
It is
Yeah.
more of an Avengers film than
it's
it is.
yeah, it doesn't feel
Yes.
quite as much of a Captain America, and given what gone before, which was excellent.
The only thing it's
it's
really missing is Thor and Hulk. It's missing
Yeah.
the two
It's
big beings. Yeah.
enjoyable, but I think it was a little bit confusing in places, like trying to fit everybody in, and I still don't quite grasp why certain characters they could have picked either side to be on. Like,
Well, and I
what
think
was-
that's kind of the point of it,
yeah.
Brian. And I get where you're coming from on that. It's just more so like, okay, it is something that you could go either way on, right?
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
It almost has to be something like that, because if it was so finite, then you'd be sitting there going, well, why the fuck would these guys even go that way? That
And
makes
I'm not-
absolutely no
and I'm
sense. You know,
nitpicking here because it's still pretty
Yeah.
good. You know,
no,
I'm
again,
trying
I
to-
agree with, like, the worst aspect is just trying to buy into Zemo's plot, because you almost don't need him for the
Yeah.
plot.
yeah.
Almost.
But it was still at the point in the MCU where things were enjoyable in their own right to watch. So it was a very enjoyable movie. Maybe not as nowhere in the class of Winter Soldier, perhaps, but it was good.
I don't know. I felt like it lived up close to it. What do you say, Brown?
For me, I'd put it at a B. I enjoyed it, kind of like Brian saying. I think this is where the MCU started to have trouble with Ultron and with Civil War. I think they each should have been their own phases. So I think they rushed into these things too quickly, and I think it hurt them. As a movie itself, it had great moments. Zemo, yeah, that was a bit weird, but he ends up becoming one of the better characters in the MCU later, or at least the funnier ones. So, yeah, I couldn't put it at the top tier,
It's solid B.
but I would say it's a solid B.
All right,
It
well,
was
we're
an
all over the
Avengers
place. We got so many A's and so many B's here now that I think I'm going to leave it up to the chat if you haven't figured that out so far. Yeah, I was figuring it would be a little bit closer than that, but I think we're almost having our own little civil war here on whether it's an A or a B. So not like an overt one, but a little.
Well, whatever happens, I'm on Captain America's team, so screw you
I mean,
guys.
it didn't feel like a civil war. It felt like a civil skirmish.
It was a skirmish. It was just a skirmish.
Civil spat.
So let's get to pretty much what I would consider the next to last movie that doesn't require a bunch of homework, and that's probably Doctor Strange. And I didn't even say this about Ant-Man, but next to Ant-Man, Doctor Strange has some of the best 3D.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
It's one of the
Great
few movies
visual
I
MCU.
saw. It's
Brilliant
one of the few
visuals.
movies I saw in 3D. Actually, fuck, it was worth.
With
Paying
Guardians
for
coming in a
3D.
close third, yeah.
I was like, wow, a 3D movie that actually paid off in 3D. Imagine that.
And Guardians only worked because they actually had, for the IMAX version, it opens up and they transferred that over to the 3D version on disc too. So I give it extra credit for that. But no, Ant-Man hands down was the best 3D experience. Probably almost the best I've ever had in a theater, period. I mean, maybe not, but pretty goddamn up there. Like, it's up there. And Doctor Strange, like, man, if you're not high, if you're on LSD, you're gonna, your brain's gonna explode on this movie if you see it in 3D.
Yeah. All the
But
buildings
it's-
moving around in 3D.
Yeah, all the
it was,
crazy
it
And
was,
I love that
it was a
stuff. I love
trippy
that,
experience.
Yeah, it trips you out. Like,
Oh,
if you're
good.
somebody who has motion sickness problems, do not see Doctor Strange in 3D.
It's one of, if not the best visually
Yeah.
MCU movie.
And it stands alone. So let's rate this thing. Let's start with you, Brahma, since you're newest to the panel. What did you think is Doctor Strange as a rating?
This one, as a movie and as an origin story for a character I really didn't know anything about, gave me everything I needed. So I'd put it at an A. I liked Cumberbatch. I liked Rachel McAdams and what's her face that plays the Supreme Sorceress.
Tilda Swinton.
Yeah, I mean, one of the better roles that I've seen her in, or actually liked her in, I guess. Um, yeah, the visual effects were amazing. The story's pretty good. I like that they brought Dormammu in and didn't immediately kill off something like Dormammu. Um, the biggest problem
The
with
loop was great too with Dormammu.
yeah, the loop was fantastic. The biggest problem that this one suffers from is not its own fault. It's that they never followed up on it because they made a Wanda movie next. Because they did have setup at the end of this movie.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The closest thing we ever got to a Doctor Strange sequel would probably be Spider-Man No Way Home, and it will only ever really be.
Which is a Spider-Man sequel, and and the Doctor Strange sequel became a WandaVision sequel.
Yep.
So
yeah.
But yeah, I'd put it solid A for this one.
All right. I was expecting a little lower, but that's cool. All right, Brian, what do you say?
Oh, I'm a definite A on this movie. I loved it at the time, still love it now. Visually brilliant. I do. That's the kind of visual stuff I love. You know, all the buildings collapsing or rotating, going in and out of spatial stuff, and it was dark, a little bit darker as well than some of the others. I mean, I'm a big Sam Raimi fan, so.
Well, this one wasn't even him, but yeah.
Didn't he direct this one? I get confused.
No, he came in on Multiverse and tried to help.
Sorry, you're right.
Scott Derrickson.
Yeah, Derrickson was supposed to do the second until he dropped off.
Yeah.
I think he blocked me on fucking Twitter too, which is funny.
Anyway, it's visually it's brilliant. I mean, I love it, but is it an E? I think it was an E. I'd still go A. I'm
right,
somewhere
so
between B plus A. It's no, I'd go A. I like it's a movie. I've watched it a few times. Solid movie. A lot of fun.
All right, Nick, are you gonna keep up with the A's or are you gonna break it?
Oh, this is tough for me. I'm like, once again, this is like Guardians of the Galaxy, where like there's some moments out here that are A plus, but I think I'm gonna go slightly. You know what? I'm gonna go home with a B, and here's why. No, I love the character arc of Strange. It's done beautifully. The LSD trip is absolutely astonishing. Seeing the character arc was great. Seeing the powers utilized, the opening of magic in the Marvel universe was awesome. I like that once again, another straightforward, stripped down story, really well self-contained. My weaknesses for this movie, I like what we got fight-wise of Caecilius, but as far as a story, he pretty much was there to just be a foil for Doctor Strange, which is fine. You're a villain, but I feel like they could have given him a little bit more to work with, considering that they had a really good actor in Mads Mikkelsen. And even though Tilda Swinton admittedly was good as the Ancient One, it should have not been a race gender swap of the character. We should have had one that looks like he came out of Komartage, but instead we got this. So, because at the time they were trying to please China at the time. And yes, that is absolutely true why they did, because the movie was being threatened to not have a China release if they didn't make the change for the Ancient One. So that's a really enjoyable movie. So because of those things, I love the introduction of Dormammu. It was a great introduction and a great third act. So I'm gonna go to B plus at teeters on A minus.
CC?
You know, if you put a gun to my head, I'm choosing Ant-Man over this one. But I can step back and be objective and then say, you know, okay, this is probably the better of the two movies. But I mean, I'm comparing them because they're both just they both have that they're self-contained, they're entertaining, they're creative, they have great special effects, right?
They're kind of the last two of the first phase.
Their introductions
type of
to
Marvel
side
films.
characters.
Yeah.
And I love how they've presented Doctor Strange as a character, and I think Brahma said it best. First of all, like just as a movie, as an arc, and the way they present the character and his journey is fantastic. I get more entertainment out of Ant-Man, right? Do I think of it as an A? Again, I'm kind of in that similar boat, right? Where it's like, not really, but it is kind of, it's also worthy of it, you know? But if I have to vote, I mean, I can't put it above Ant-Man. We got Ant-Man and B, so there you go. That's my answer, my question. I'll put it in a B.
So it almost comes down to me.
2 A's, 2 B's.
I know, right? I don't know if it's good enough to go A tier either, so I guess we'll throw it in the B tier.
Fair enough.
I
Fair
won't
enough.
argue on it.
Yeah. All right, now here's one I think we are going to have a little bit of an argument on, because there's only a few movies in my life that have made me cry, especially as an adult. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was one of them. So it's going to be tough for me to be unbiased and not put it in the A tier, so I'm going to have to leave this up to you guys to fight it out. Because I know some people dislike this movie. I know some people love it. So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. What do you say, CC?
Like the final whole bit, when the final fight, I didn't love the set piece. I didn't love the effects the way that we were just talking about Ant-Man and Doctor Strange. I don't think the effects were nearly as good in this. But do I think it's a bad movie? No. It's kind of like that, one of those things where I've watched it probably about 3 times now, not 5 or 10 times, but each time that I've successfully watched it, I've appreciated it more. Would I put it in an A right now? No, right? And maybe in particularly because I just don't love the final. I mean, I like how it concludes. I just don't love the set piece. I love the actual set piece of them on the planet. It just never does it for me once things start to fall apart. That's all. I love the characters. So for me, I'm going to put it in a B. It's not bad. I'll put it that way.
Nick?
Okay, I'm gonna go with a B on this one. I like Kurt Russell's performance as Ego, and I think Ego is utilized well. I just don't like that they made him Star-Lord's father. It should have been Jason, like from the books. Yes, really be that guy. And this is probably the first one where I actually had a complaint about the CG. There's that one sequence with Star-Lord. It looks straight up video gamey. Now, are the character arcs in this movie great? Yeah. The second act, where there's that constant chatter, really reminded me of Attack of the Clones, where the second act is filled with chat, and then the great finish at the third act. And I get it, you gotta have exposition and such, but the second act really weighed it down for me. Now, to be fair, this is one of the few that I've seen once.
Quit breaking shit, Nick.
It's one of the few ones I gotta rewatch and see if maybe I'd have fonder feelings towards the second act. But at the theater, the second act really displays me. But
now during the talk stuff, I just will say this much, Nick. The next time you watch it, keep in mind that basically this movie is Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, I'm gonna actually rewatch.
It follows the exact same formula. Like you have the big opening sequence, then everybody gets separated, and there's a lot of exposition for a while, and then you find out the main bad guy is your hero's dad during the climax.
Maybe I gotta give this one a rewatch.
It's more of an emotional climax than it is even like the original Star Wars had the big Death Star thing.
Yeah, I have been meaning to rewatch this one because I just have not gotten around to it. I still really like it though. There's still some really great character moments and action moments. So I still really enjoyed the film when it came out. It just, to me, is like once again, I'm of the minority that, to me, 1 and 2 are equal, just not an A+, but for me, both are a B. But I still enjoy.
And the planet is basically Cloud City too, by the way. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No. I could see that all right, but no, I'm settling at a B.
All right. So, Brian, what do you say?
It's hard to disagree with Nick on most of that, and I don't. It's not quite as impactful as the first one. I do love the opening sequence with Mr. Blue Sky, and it's a little bit dry and convoluted in places. Love the characters. It was love having Kurt Russell there, and I don't have the comic background to know about the switching thing. Still very enjoyable. There's no such thing as a bad Guardians movie. Probably not quite as good as the first one, so a B for me.
All right, Brahma, what do you say?
I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'd have to say it's a B, though. I can't put it up there with number 1 for a lot of the same reasons as everybody else is saying. Ego as his human form was much better than him as the final villain being the planet. I get what you're saying about tugging on the heartstrings, all that kind of stuff, but I just didn't care for, kind of like CC said, didn't care for that final set piece. I love the development of all of the characters except for Drax. I thought they dumbed him down to a point that it was just got stupid. I mean, in the first one, they made jokes, but he was still intelligent. In this one, it seemed like he got dumber and dumber. I loved what they did with Nebula, because this is where she starts to have her turn, and that's setting up things for later. Ultimately, it was a great bridge movie and gave us a lot of character development, but I can't put it up there with the first one.
Man, I wish I could argue, guys, but the audience seems to be mostly on your sides with this one.
Well, you've got an emotional hook on it. That's different.
Well, just to me, that scene where he's like, he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy, boy. Like, that whole scene for me kills it. Like, that's the cats in the cradle scene. Yes, you can't just, no, it's something about it, especially just even thinking about it gets me just kind of like, ugh.
I'll give you, I like that sequence better than anything in the first movie, almost. Like that. I like just a fantastic
everything with Yondu.
I love the Yondu stuff.
Yondu was
and it's
great.
so earned. It's one of the most earned deaths I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, that stuff's great. That would almost make it an A. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's my tough part with it. But I'm trying to get out of the way of my bias, so I'll go with you guys on this one. It belongs to the B tier. Okay, here's the one I know we're gonna have a fucking argument on, because he already brought up Iron Spider Boy or Spider Iron. Everybody calls everybody calls this movie that, but everybody forgets that the main plot of the first Spider-Man movie was he gets the suit taken away and he has to prove himself without the suit. It's the second movie that's the Tony Stark hovering over the fucking movie. But anyway, I enjoyed the first Spider-Man Homecoming. I thought it was pretty good. I wouldn't put it up there as good as like the original Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2, but I think it was definitely as good as Spider-Man 3 as far as a whole. So I definitely put it in the B range. What do you say, CC, on Homecoming?
I'm kind of with you on this one too. There were parts of it that I really liked, like the high school dynamic, which can usually be kind of not believable in a movie. They did okay with it here. You know, I felt like, okay, they're actually in high school. There was a good kind of light humor to it that it fit the movie nicely. At the same time, kind of like you said, between the original first Spider-Man movie, despite maybe its visual effects not holding up, I can't say that I like the visual effects in this movie with the airplane and all that. This is the one with the airplane in it, right? Kind of like with Guardians 2, is like as much as I love the visual effects in Ant-Man and Doctor Strange, I don't think they did a fantastic job with them here. I was like, okay, this movie came out like what, 10, 15, 20 years after the first Spider-Man, and I don't think it looks better. So that took me out of it a little bit, but at least I had a good time watching it. So I'll probably go with a B.
Nick?
I'm gonna go with a B, though there are some things that would bring it down to a C. Like, I don't like that they had his suit made for him. I thought that was really dumb because his suit is supposed to be self-made, not handed down to him, and that really ruined slightly the impact of his great moment in Captain America Civil War. Now, I did also... what was it? Zendaya is awful in this movie. This is her most unlikable in this movie. Holy crap.
You convinced me of
you want to talk about... I couldn't believe how much I was okay with her character in No Way Home, because if you had told me prior to that movie that I would find her fine in that movie compared to this one, I would go as far as to say she's probably one of the very first insufferable characters as far as the story goes. Now, I didn't really care if she go with the MJ initials because her name was actually Michelle Jones, so I was like, whatever, it's Michelle Jones. I get at the time they couldn't use it because they had that weird deal with Sony that they can use certain things cannot be. So I could bend around on that a little bit, but the Vulture arc is great. His motivations were great. What was it called? Oh, then there's that homage to ASM issues 32 and 33, where he has the whole weight of the thing stuck, brought him down. He has to show who he is. Does the suit make the man make the suit? The arc was great. Now, that moment in the comics was done for a very different reason and done better, but was it cool to see it being paid homage to? Oh, yeah, of course. It was cool to see it being paid homage to. Man, yeah, this is a conflict one for me because there are some really good ones, but there's definitely stuff that weighs it down. Oh, I was really happy that we were going to get Scorpion in a sequel that we never got. Kind of like how we're supposed to get a follow-up to Baron Mordo, and then we never got it. The same way we were supposed to get a follow-up to The Leader and never got it. And no, I'm not counting Captain America Great Reset either. That we did not see The Leader, judging by the photos. But I guess I'll settle with a B.
All right. Brian, whoever wants to go next.
Yeah, I'll go. A lot of what Nick just said, I would say C+ to a B- at best. I hate Zendaya. I can't stand her acting. Couldn't stand her in this movie. I'm not a huge fan of Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I did like that they brought it kind of down the street level while still keeping it involved by having all the Shatari technology still like a part of it. That's the driving force behind it, is what had been happening in the broader MCU. But they kept it almost at a street level thing with Vulture was good. I don't know. It's one of those movies that I've revisited maybe once. I just don't care about Tom Holland's Spider-Man all that much outside of the bigger story. I did like Marissa Tomei, of course, as Aunt May. Marissa Tomei is hot.
Wow, so. What a shock.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So I'd probably put it in a C because we don't have a lot of C's and we're overloading the top end.
Yeah, we'll see. We got a lot of shit coming up.
Oh, I know we got crap coming.
Yeah, so like that's what I'm saying. Like
it's gonna level out. It's gonna level out.
So what do you say, Brian?
There's a lot of issues with this movie, and I agree with Brian. I'm not a big Tom Holland fan. Having Zendaya in it's an automatic F. But leaving that aside, let's try and bring that up a little bit. And I'm not a big fan of, once again, Spider-Man at high school stuff.
That part I was okay with because we actually are not skimming through and actually having him.
Yeah, because that's an argument I always got in with people too.
He's supposed to be young. He's supposed to look and sound and act like a youthful kid. And Tom Holland was, I think, 20.
In every one of the other movies, they've jumped him through high school pretty fucking quick.
Not only did they jump him, but he also is like 30 by the time someone plays a character.
Yeah. No Ben, and it's a little. The CGI is a little ropey at times as well. It's not my favorite by any means. Probably very low in the Spider-Man canon. For me, I think it's a C. I didn't enjoy it. Particularly if Vulture. Now, Vulture's great. Michael Keaton. Vulture's the best thing about it.
I think I leave this one up to the chat.
I said B a few before, but I think he all talked me down to a C. So,
well, I'm gonna leave it up to the chat just the same. Because we've been so all over the place here.
We need some bigger cups, as somebody said. We need bigger cups. We need to fill the D's, C's and the D's.
Oh, we'll get there. Trust me. Trust me. We're getting there.
I think we're at the most divisive one coming right up.
Here's the most divisive one of all because I fucking love Ragnarok. I don't give a fuck. I get it. It's not what it's not as good as what it's based on. I get it. But Planet Hulk also has some crazy batshit shit in it too. But what I love is the camaraderie and the buddy cop-esque kind of nature that Hulk and Thor have. Jeff Goldblum, the Kirbyisms. This movie is one of my personal guilty pleasures as far as the MCU goes. I love it. Even Andre and I bond over the fact that we both love it unapologetically, but I understand this is a very divisive film. So I would actually, and I know people are going to shoot me for this, I would put this in the fucking A range. So, all right, go ahead, Brahma.
Yeah. I couldn't put it above a C easily. I liked it initially when it came out, mostly because I actually laughed at it initially. But then on any rewatches, it's like, it's not funny. It's Taika Waititi just doing Taika Waititi things, and have never been able to get over it. I mean, the whole thing is, Asgard's going to be destroyed by the end of the movie, and it's all a freaking joke. I mean, the whole movie is just one big joke. Even when things get really ugly, it's still, let's just make it into a joke. I did not like it. I thought it also is where Thor's character, Nick was talking about Hemsworth Thor. I don't think it's Hemsworth Thor. I think that's when they took it to Waititi Thor. I'm not sure that it was Hemsworth doing it.
If you watch Hemsworth and other
being
stuff where he's like that, you'll see that translation. That's where I came to that conclusion. For clarification, Brahma.
I get it, but it's like it was Taika Waititi that actually threw all the comedy into Thor trying to match Guardians of the Galaxy at this point. So, I mean, that's where we see Thor's character actually change from being like an Asgardian that doesn't understand some things on Earth to he's just a regular guy that's also the God of Thunder. So, I can't give it more than a C.
All right, Brian.
It was fun at the time when I watched it. I've only ever watched it once though, because that's the kind of movie it was. I felt there's a lot of humor in it. It's very Waititi. Yeah, I mean, it's just a little bit too much on the humor. Did like Carl Urban though, and his character
Scourge.
did like Carl Urban.
Oh,
So Carl Urban's always worth it, and it's fine. It's a fine movie, but it leaned heavily into the comedy, which I think has then become more and more widespread as a result.
Yeah, but you guys are rating it on the future of what happens. Like this would be
True,
me like rating
true.
Scream on what Scream did to the industry. It's like I can't blame Scream on Scream.
No,
Like,
I'm going
directly.
back, and it may have been good for some chuckles to first watch, but they don't hold up for me.
Yeah, and I mean,
Mm.
Kate Blanchett, I think they could have done a little more with her, and they could have done something a little more with. Makes my mind's going. Anthony Hopkins. I don't know if really I like the Odin stuff that
He
much.
did get the biggest shaft.
Yeah,
of
he
all.
got
Like, that I
shafted,
will
I think.
totally agree with.
Yeah.
Besides, like the Ragnarok and
So,
that stuff is also.
It's
not
only
taken
a
as
C for
seriously.
me. I can't defy putting it higher than a C for me.
You guys are such party poopers, Nick.
oh
And before you even
boy.
start, let's be real. You're never, and I mean a never in a million years, like I said in the chat, I hate to break anybody's heart. You're never going to get a 1-to-1 Planet
Oh,
Hulk
yeah.
fucking.
No,
And, you know,
Never.
I'm actually fine with that. I'm not as wild about that story as others, so I was kind of like really hoping that they would not touch this story. I know I'm probably gonna get flack for that one in the chat for those who read it and liked it. I was never really wild about that story. That said, though, this is weird because there's some stuff I really enjoy and there's some things I really detest. I thought the fight with Hulk and Thor was good. I like the wild setting for them to be in because you can pull those type of scenarios off for a one-off story. Should it be the standard going forward? Absolutely not. Now there's some really bad stuff. Like Thor should have been the one to beat Hela. You had a great opening sequence where Thor takes on Satur. Really cool with the hammer going around. You had the Led Zeppelin music going on. The music, I think, is really good. The color, the visuals of the movie are stunning. Action overall good. But for me, the whole Thor becoming Chris Hemsworth was not great. Also, on top of him not being his own villain. And the humor to me landed at parts, but to me, all my issues was it was a bit too much of it, and it really dampens down the serious ones because it shows you Taika Waititi, for all my complaints I have about him, he knows how to do serious stuff. He does. But his caveat to it is he needs to throw in a polarizing opposite sense of humor to level that out, which doesn't work. And it makes it feel like two different movies. So I feel like that the comedy really weighs down the potential of the serious material in this movie. So it's a real bummer because you see the potential there for what could have been maybe a overall serious movie with moments of humor, which should have been more of like the Thor fish out of water humor rather than the slapstick. And once again, in its own isolation, the slapstick stuff is better at it than probably, assumingly, than Love and Thunder, but it doesn't completely fit the Thor stuff at parts, a lot of parts. Oh, and at least we got a statue of Beta Ray Bill. That was cool. So yeah, I'm gonna go with a C on this one.
I mean, at the end of the movie,
for me, that's a generous score considering everything else I could go against this one for a D or an F. But I'm gonna go with a C.
At the end of the movie, we're all still laughing and giggling. Think of how that leads into the Avengers movie, which, you know, it's like minutes later after that.
Oh yeah,
and you've got Loki dying and Hulk getting his ass kicked.
Well, we don't know that when that.
I know,
yeah, right.
But it's just a jarring. It's just a jarring personality change from happy-go-lucky, let's giggle about the end of the world to the Avengers.
I get your point.
Well, they weren't giggling on screen, to be fair. This joke was set up for the audience.
I know,
right? So that's what it is. But all right, I'm gonna go with.
I'm just talking about the overall tone.
CC, what do you say? Because at this point, it's stuck at a C. So,
without shame, this is also an A for me.
Yes.
So now it's going to end up in B then.
All right, I'm going to put it in C anyway, just because everybody's going to fucking shoot me. If I
Well,
don't.
let CC have me say that.
Thank God, at least CC's on my side here, for fuck's sake.
I think it's a bit criminal to have it in a C. I got expelled from a school for laughing way too damn hard at Beavis and Butthead Do America. Now, is that a better movie? Yeah, okay, that's a better movie. But that dumb fun part of me just, I am thoroughly entertained by this movie. I don't know everything about every page of the comics and every panel. I don't know what it does and doesn't honestly do, correctly. And yeah, in perspective of what we got overall, what followed, and going way too far down this dumb shit path, I could look at it and say, well, this is kind of an indication of fat Thor, but should I? No. I just want to put it in. I want to fucking have a good time. So yeah, anyways, that's I'm with you.
Split the baby then. Put it in a B. It was 3 C's and two A's. Throw it in B.
All right, I'm going to do that since the audience
seems like a fair
down.
compromise.
Since the audience let me down on Spider-Man, I'm going to do that because I'm like, I went to the audience. I'm like, you motherfuckers can't even sit here and tell me that this is in the C range when Far From Home is a much worse film. But Far From Home is a fucking funeral for Tony Stark. That's all it is for 2 hours.
Well, we'll get there.
We'll get
there.
Far From Home and Far From Talented.
Anyway, Black Panther. All right, here we go. We have no black people on the panel, so we can't rate this.
How can you assume that? Did you assume my gender and race?
I know you're whiter than I am, dude.
Identify as black. Does that count?
I'm actually not white. I'm pale blue because I'm from the north.
I don't know if that counts or not, CC, because CC's actually Canadian, unlike you Scottish bastard.
It's from roughly the same latitude, though.
For Canada, he might be almost black.
I am half Irish, so I kind of balance out 70s.
So now he's gonna use that shit with don't even
The
go
Irish, the blacks of Europe. Yeah, the Irish.
Yeah, see. All right. Let's get back to the thing here. Also, Black Panther. CC, what did you think?
For me, this is a C. This is the most average kind of meh, forgettable but not bad movie in the entire first 3 phases. I've tried it a few times. I don't hate it, but I don't see I'm never really able to connect with the characters, and all that the whole, like, we're talking about, like, the path of CGI getting worse and worse and worse. I actually liked it. I loved it in Infinity War, maybe by comparison, but I mean, compared to some of the highs they hit in previous movies, the CGI and the whole fight scene in the field, which goes on and on and on, is okay. Well, I mean, actually, I should say, speaking of when they return to this later in Infinity War and Endgame, maybe I like that less, but it's just, yeah, it's not it's a C. I don't know what more to say, but
all right,
I don't really like anything about the movie.
I'm gonna go with a C. There are parts of it that I would actually give it a B. I thought we had a great introduction at the movie. I like the look of Wakanda. I actually like that Wakanda were the biggest gatekeepers of their technology, as they should be. People don't just get something just because they simply exist. And I actually do like Killmonger's arc, but not because what people think. Killmonger was wrong, irrefutably wrong. You can try and debate it all day you want. He never had a point. He was wrong. But for me, because he was wrong, that's what made his villain arc so great. Because you have to really have 800 different sorts of messed up to even think he has some sort of bit of rationality with it. So, now that said, though, the CG really, really is awful, especially in the third act. Especially that fight. Absolutely horrendous CG. And I don't like that. I feel like the Dora Milaje outshined Prince T'Challa in this movie. And I don't like where they solidified Shuri as being the smartest character
that's what I was going to say.
The Marvel comics. MCU. You do not do that to not only Reed Richards, but you don't do that to Prince T'Challa as well. And King T'Chaka deserved a bit better. Yeah, I'm going to go with a C.
Brian?
Well, Nick just nailed one of my main problems with this movie, which is Shuri.
Are you Shuri?
Shuri. Heavily leaning into the MCU tropes that were about to become extremely standard. 16-year-old wunderkind that's the smartest thing that's ever been since the last smartest thing. Really not a big fan of that character. I think the movie, I'm going to lambasted, was well overhyped for various reasons. It has its highs, as Nick also mentioned, and there are some fantastic sequences in it. I do have a big problem with the whole Wakanda thing, and I'm not a comics guy. I've never read the comics. The fact that they're this super rich, powerful, futuristic nation, but they allow their neighbors to live in squalid poverty. A bit like America and Canada, really. I've been waiting.
That was the one good thing about Captain America, the new one, is they actually called Wakanda an isolationist country, because they are.
Right.
They are. I'm proud of it. But it was okay. I didn't. I mean, I didn't not enjoy it, but neither did I think, wow, that's really the greatest thing I've ever seen. So for me, it's a C for me. I'm sorry. I just didn't think it was that great.
All right, CC.
Oh, I already C.
Oh, wait, which way am I going? I'm sorry, wrong way.
Brahma.
Yeah, Brahma. Where am I going here?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about it that hasn't already been said. I only watched it the one time. I thought Chadwick Boseman was a great actor. I think Michael B. Jordan's a great actor. But nothing about this movie stood out or made it enjoyable for me. It was just average schlock. So I would stick it at a C as well.
Yeah, honestly, I'm having a hard time keeping it out of the D because I get where you guys are coming from, but who the fuck is making this argument that Killmonger's right, Nick? Because I get part of his argument is probably partially true, yeah, about them being isolationists and not giving any of their technology out, but he wants to arm ethnic minorities, and that's it, right? Like
his argument is, well, we deserve it too, just because we exist, and you need to give to us just because you have the power of money. No, they don't. If they do that because they want to, hey, great. You should be given that stuff because you feel like, okay, you know what? Why not? Not just because you are owed it. And he wasn't owed it. He never was owed it. And it was like the fact that people even come off thinking that.
And I agree with you that was what makes him a decent villain. Yeah.
It's basic socialism.
Thank you, Brahma, because he's so socialistic. It's, to me, what makes his character arc even better. I love
him and fucking Andy Serkis are two of the best parts of the film, and it has nothing to do with them being white. You know, he's just a great actor all around. And Michael B. Jordan, I could give a shit about. I agree with you, Nick. Him actually being a solid villain was refreshing, considering at this point we were hitting the are they really villains anymore half the time? Because even Michael Keaton's character, you know.
Yeah, you could debate on that.
Right.
Yeah,
he just wanted to
debatable.
He just wanted to wet his beak a little bit.
Right. And so like, yeah, and he wasn't doing anything the government wasn't, right? So
yeah.
I have a hard time putting this, and if anything, I agree with you guys. This was the beginning of the downfall of the MCU. And funnily enough, I've told the story a few times. You guys have heard where I've talked to somebody who owns a small theater, a few times. But this was the time where she told me, and she was pissed because they had this movie for so long in the theater. It was Black Panther. They couldn't move one of the other movies they wanted to in the big screen because Black Panther was contractually obligated to be in the big screen for X amount of weeks. And I didn't even see Black Panther till near the end of its run. Like I waited out because I was like, I didn't even really care.
I
like
waited
whatever
until after.
And I've watched it once since it was on video. I watched it when I got the 3D Blu-ray. And so I haven't seen it since. And even then, the second time I watched it, I'm like, this movie really kind of sucks. Right? Like I was like, it really does. It was, especially after his Civil War, how good he is in Civil War. You're like, is this supposed to be the same guy? Like, he's such a pussy. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah.
Is it really worse than Thor Ragnarok, though?
Yes.
I
mean, I'm almost making an argument for it to be in the D range here. That's my point. If it wasn't for Killmonger and Andy Serkis, I'm like,
I think Chadwick Boseman was good in it. I mean, he's
good, but he's not even a patch of what he was in Civil War. That's my point. And a lot of people agree with me on that. Because it's almost like he's not even the same character.
Wasn't
this entire movie feels like it was filmed on a volume. I don't think they had the volume at that point.
No, but you're right. It's like very green screen. Yeah.
I mean, even scenes that shouldn't need any kind of green screen, even simple.
And culturally, sets. I guarantee you, if this movie would have come out a year before it came out, it would have been one of the first Marvel movies to really. It wouldn't have bombed, but I don't think it would have done nearly as well. It would have probably done closer to what the sequel did.
Yeah.
It was the timing, mainly, because Black Panther is not as well known of a character. He's well known, but he's not that well known. And I think it was the timing and the fact that he was in Civil War and all that stuff kind of combined, because otherwise he's kind of a niche character. I mean, they're really amping up Wakanda as much as they can, at least. But I mean, now that they got adamantium, what the fuck do you need vibranium for?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
No,
at this point.
Black Panther was a very obscure character, and that's fine. To me, if when the markets respond to something, you want to lean into it.
He's one of those characters that managed to both times in history ride the wave of civil movements.
Oh yeah,
does that make sense? Because in his initial creation, after his initial creation, he got popular more so when the civil rights movement back in the 70s was still in its prime. And then here it was, after, post George Floyd and all that kind of shit, it all just lined up. And again, that's why I said if it was a year before, I don't think it would have done as well.
Yeah, the marketing for Black Panther is stellar. I mean, I'll give him credit where it's due. That marketing, it really was well timed. You had the Black History Month mixed with President's Day weekend. It was really. Then they were having I guess kids in like big cities where they were paying for them to see the movie. It was smart marketing, and of course you really lean on the whole Wakanda element and the poses and the chants. That definitely really had it really well played. Right, and of course politicians got involved in it too, promoting it was a really stunning marketing job. Really.
Wait, what happened? What happened? Something happened right before it. I'm getting my ears screwed up.
Floyd was 2020. This came out in 2018.
What happened? What happened right before that though? Something happened right before it when it came out. I'm trying to remember.
Michael Brown, hands up.
Okay,
don't
that's
shoot.
what it was. Okay, that's what it was. I knew it
was either
like
2018 or 2019. There was
somewhere
one of those
that
events that happened during that time period, but it wasn't.
Was it and when did Kaepernick take the knee and all that shit too? When was all that? Because I thought all this stuff was right around the same time ish. There was something all happening right around the same time as this movie came out. Because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But
it all bleeds together for me. It's like
that's the problem. Yeah, there was so many events now.
Compaction. Yeah. Michael Brown was actually 2014.
All right.
So Black Lives Matter had already kind of formed, but it wasn't the full-blown Floyd movement at that point.
No, you're right, because it was something else before that. It was at the same time just before.
2018, could that have been Charlottesville?
Probably what I'm thinking. I don't know. Either way, because even at the time, I was just like, It felt like this movie is being artificially propped up somehow. And this is where we started noticing some of that stuff, especially when we looked back on it. But anyhow, I think it's where it needs to be.
I think. Sorry, go ahead and finish your point.
No, finish your point.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, yeah, I mean, you can make I think there's a great argument that the artificial prop up was there. However, people were buying into it because I remember how many screens were sold out for Black Panther for several weeks on end. Now, the difference was between that and Captain Marvel. I think people were not buying it the second time around with Captain Marvel because they're trying to do a similar but different version of it with Captain Marvel. Once again, trying to bring youthful kids, leaning on the political social angle, but it's a Black History Month, Women's Day or month, whatever. So they're trying to do very similar angles. So you could look at there's a similar marketing campaign between Black Panther and Captain Marvel. Black Panther, they succeeded with it. It was like, hey, what do we need to prop up this movie to get people to go and talk about it? And people seemed at the time at least really like Black Panther. Captain Marvel, not only did not as many people turned out, but the ones who did turn up were nowhere as enthused. And that was at a time where it seemed like there was, unless you're on YouTube, most people were kind of scared to say they didn't like the movie. I had a manager at the time who she came up to me in private and she told me she did not like Captain Marvel. And she told me she felt like she couldn't say that loud. I was like, isn't that kind of crazy? But
see, my recollection with Black Panther was it was basically everybody was saying that the movie was great because it was the first Black-led superhero movie. I don't remember the other stuff being involved with this one. Maybe Wakanda and maybe a few other ones, but I think this one was just it's the first Black-led superhero movie. We have to support it.
But it wasn't the first black lad to.
Yeah, it was
No, it
Blade.
wasn't, because that's what I
Blade.
remember. Yeah, reminding everybody at Blade and
Right.
shit,
Oh,
even at
man.
Steel and all
But
I
kinds of
that
other
was-
shit.
I remember angering so many people mentioning Blade. And I kept telling it's not like I'm trying to diss Black Panther. Like I've been around Black
Indeed.
Panther.
But
I'm
Blade
saying
deserves his
that
due.
as just a factual statement. I'm not saying it as
Correct.
a, like,
Blade
sleight of
was,
hand.
but
even
they
at
weren't
Steel.
including that as part of the MCU. People easily forget anything prior to what.
2010.
Hey, where's the 1990
2010?
Captain America
So-
on this list?
So yeah, I mean that was kind of the marketing that they did for this movie. They may have been talking about the actual MCU, but that's what they were going with.
If those people really cared and were that into Black Panther, they would have actually known and done their homework and realized, oh, hey, look, Black Panther has actually had a really small acknowledgement all the way back in Iron Man 2. But no, they don't know that. They just know, well, Black Panther is the thing to talk about in life. So because they're saying it, I gotta go along. Whereas the guy who actually knows the character from, the Fantastic Four cartoon and actual comics, like, hey, no, first acknowledgement wasn't in Civil War. It was Iron Man 2, full stop, bro. Don't be a poser.
Why are we still talking about this though?
I don't know. Let's keep moving. Infinity War.
Hey,
I was gonna say I don't think anybody's gonna argue
A.
with that one.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange is great in this movie.
I'm waiting for somebody to
Fantastic,
say
actually.
anything other than an A for Infinity War. And
A plus.
It'll save us a lot of time if you just put it in.
yeah, I was gonna say moving on.
I
Ant-Man
did
and
one minor
Wasp.
complaint about Infinity War. One minor complaint, even though it's an A. The digitalization of Iron Man's suit.
Oh,
That's it.
Okay, it's an F then.
Oh God.
Let's
Ant-Man and
move on.
Wasp. Okay, now we're getting into the shit. Ant-Man and Wasp.
Extremely forgettable. I can't put it anywhere near where Ant-Man's plays, so C or D.
All right, Brian.
I'm quite fond of this one. I do like the Ant-Man movies. I know they're starting to become more not just Ant-Man MCU again, but
Ghost was just so forgettable.
He was
Yeah,
a
well,
huge
this is the
down
This
problem.
movie
for the
just
first one,
disappears.
yeah.
fun but forgettable. Yeah,
And the Ghost
I-
was a horrible villain.
Yeah,
It-
that's the
it's
main
just-
problem with it.
it's a C, but that C is still fine. I mean, C is still okay.
Okay, so we got a C to a D and a C. All right, Nick.
I'm gonna go with a C plus that actually kind of leans in towards a B minus. I thought
Alright.
the introduction of the full-blown introduction of the Quantum Realm, Janet Van Dyne, or Michael Pena, Paul Rudd was great.
Having Walton
What
Goggins
makes
in it
me
was good.
not give it an actual B proper is how bad Ghost was.
Underwhelming. I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and
All
it
right, you
wasn't
guys
like it was
convinced
like
me.
It's a
Yeah.
C, I think.
I actually do like, and
Yeah.
I've rewatched Ant-Man and the Wasp. Actually, I do enjoy it. I
I
actually
forgot
genuinely
about
enjoy
Walton
it.
Goggins being
Walton
in it and
Goggins
shit.
is good.
I'll
Yeah.
take it
Good
over
number.
Black
The
Panther any
Ghost
day.
really hurt this one because sometimes you can have an ineffective villain, but I can still look past it. The Ghost was horrendous, and I'm actually a fan of that character. That's actually an Iron Man villain from the books, by the way.
And now it's
All
going to
right.
be into Thunderbolts.
All right, yeah, you guys convinced me it's at least in the C range. Okay. This one, before we get to this next one, we got some super chats here. We're gonna get into those real quick. We got the Dead Man sending in a $1.99 super chat. Thank you, Dead Man. Says, I'm Tom, I'm stalking you once again. Oh, I love having stalkers. And he sent me a super sticker as well. Well, thank you for that, Dead Man. Let's see what it is. I believe it was a pooper sticker, actually. If I remember correctly. Seeing it pop up. Yes, it was a pooper sticker. How dare you send me a pooper sticker. Jason Webster sends an Australian $5 dues to say, I'm sorry, Tom, too much took me out of Ragnarok. I give the film a C. However, I understand why people like it. Nah, don't be sorry. That's your opinion, and you could have your own opinion about it. I'm not going to argue with you on that. Graham Cass sends it $1.99 and says Black Panther's D tier for piss poor CGI took me out of. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I remember it just being, because everybody, I'm getting my historical times fucked up, but I remember everybody hyping that movie up. I went and seeing it finally after everybody else had talked it up so much. And I'm like, this is what everybody's talking about? This is one of the worst Marvel movies.
It's kind of like seeing Avatar.
Uh-huh.
Yes, that's a great comparison.
You're not wrong. That's a great comparison. Thank you.
Only Avatar had good CG.
And a better story.
Only had
debatable.
good CG.
Hey, I don't care if it's a ripoff. It's still a better story. No, you're not right. Well, that was the one thing. Yeah, Killmonger was actually a pretty decent villain. But anyhow, Jason Webster says, however, Tom, I wholeheartedly agree with you on Spider-Man Far From Home. Yeah, we're going to get to that real soon. We're getting there. We're almost there. And then Kalekioki sends in $5 to say he fucking hates Black Panther, had all these people crossing their arms saying Wakanda forever and because I'm African, they thought it actually meant something. Not only that, I couldn't believe how many fucking people were stupid enough to believe it was a real place.
Thought Wakanda was an actual place.
An actual fucking place. It's like, dude, if Wakanda was, wouldn't you think we'd be turning to them by now and going, why aren't you giving us all these cures and all these answers and shit that you supposedly have?
It's like Australian. It's Australia. It's fictional. Doesn't exist.
No, Australia's real. It's Crocodile Dundee that is the fiction, we found out.
New Zealand doesn't appear on globes or maps.
Sadly. Yeah, it's New Zealand that's the fiction. That's actually Middle Earth. That's what we found out. They built it just for Lord of the Rings, so now it's an actual place.
That's right. It's just one giant film set.
They're like, well, there's no place on Earth that looks anything like this. Yeah. We'll build one. We got some space down below Australia. Trust me. Look perfect. Or to the left or whatever, off to the side.
Now we're getting to the real meat and potatoes.
All right, yeah. So, Captain Marvel. Fucking F tier! Anybody want to fight me? I hated this fuck. Oh, I wanted to tear my eyeballs out during the fucking movie.
You know what?
Can't stand her. Can't stand the movie.
Yeah.
What really struck me the most about this movie was the awful production design. I mean, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this movie, right? And you would at least expect it to, even as awful as it is, to look like there's a bit of a budget behind it, but it looked like a cheap middle grade TV show through and through. Just like awful, found it in the back of a warehouse set design pieces. And the first thing I'm thinking about that is like, I'm shitting on TV set pieces. And then you gotta show like Farscape, if anyone's seen that. For $1.4 million per episode, I guess is what I'm reading the budget was. And it looks fantastic. And then you have this for hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's like, you could have gotten it out of your fucking shed in the backyard for $5. That's really what just blew me away as much as anything about the movie. Is just like,
and it only made money because they shoehorned it in between the two Avengers movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, at this point,
said that she would be a part of the Avengers movie.
Yeah, I mean, really, somebody's got to argue me out of an F at this point, because I could sit here for a while and tell you it's almost like the movie has been written to work against itself, right? Like the whole climax leads up to an obvious conclusion. Like I've gone over it when we did the review, and it's like, yeah. So honestly, guys, unless somebody's got an argument,
there's a few things that need to be also mentioned about it being it up, because on top of the unlikability of Carol Danvers' character arc, you have Marvel, who was done as dirty, if not done dirtier, than the Mandarin. What they did to Marvel was criminal, absolutely heinous. Then on top of that, you have a lot of the revisionist history that they did for this movie to adjust to Captain Marvel had always been there in the MCU with what's it called? The fact that she was out in space, she just somehow never magically responded to A. The fact that the name Avengers originated because Carol Avenger Danvers. Oh, and let's not forget when Nick Fury lost his eye because of Goose. Are you freaking kidding me? The revisionist history that they were really doing to make this character feel tacked onto the MCU drove me as nuts as the story itself, if not even more so, because they were trying to do whatever it takes to really legitimize this character. And all
this is the Ghostbusters 2016 of the MCU.
Yes.
Right. And you could tell it didn't go over well, because in the next movie, they basically cut her parts way down.
Yes.
Because they basically sent her into another
Beginning and end
galaxy
of
to go
movie.
take care of things.
Yeah, beginning and end of movie she was in. And that probably was the best case scenario. It really was. And
I'm
that's saying
convinced
a
they
lot,
moved her out of the movie
considering-
because did you guys know there was a video game that came out? It was like an exclusive game that you only got if you bought this type of vehicle. I can't even remember the vehicle. And it actually came with the car in their little entertainment center. And it was Rocket Raccoon going to save Tony because he wanted his fucking ship back. It wasn't Captain Marvel that saved him in the game. So at some point between when that game came out and the movie came out, they changed that, because that's the other thing is, remember, we kept hearing, and this is why I think it's true, that there was a heavy Captain Marvel cut and a not so heavy Captain Marvel cut, depending on how they test it.
Yeah, because she was out there doing all the press saying that she was the strongest Avenger, and you'd see in the next movie, and blah blah blah. And then,
remember she was supposed to be the face of the MCU, Brahma.
Yep.
She was going to represent the company going forward. And that's the thing. Once again, this is where you know that the whole propping up was actually artificial, because when Iron Man blew up, we didn't know he was going to be the face of the MCU. It was one of those things where the movie took off and the audience decided this.
And the actor had charisma.
Yeah.
People were fine with Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man being the lead.
Yes.
No, the funny thing
the
to
market
was
decided that.
From my memory from the game setup was, it was like Rocket didn't give so much of a shit about Tony. He just wanted his fucking shit back.
Of course.
So the whole game is you're in this little journey as Rocket going to save Tony and get your shit back. So it's like, why would they make a game of that if that wasn't in the movie? Like, that was tied in with the movie. That was the whole point. Like, yeah, I remember reporting on it at the time.
Instead, they just send her off and say, "There's more.
Yes, I got
more
other
planets
shit to
to
do.
take care of than you guys." It's like, yeah.
Then they worked her back in by having her bring home Tony instead. Yeah. Because the other version, I bet you she was on Earth the whole time. That was my point.
She was probably leading in Tony's absence.
Exactly. Like, yeah, she was heavy in the movie, probably.
It's an F, move on.
Yeah, it's a movie. It's F, move on. Now, this is one that, God, I have a tough time with, because I love so many parts of Endgame, but I have so many fucking problems with it. And it sadly sets up the future for the Marvel's cinematic universe to fail going forward. It totally does. This is where a lot of, we talk about where do things get broken.
The girl
Captain
power
Marvel is a
scene.
problem, but that doesn't matter because it was in such of the back end. The time travel, convoluted multiverse bullshit they set up here now in this movie, this is where it all kind of starts.
Yeah, this is where everything
Time
falls
travel.
apart.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
I hate
also a
judging
great
the movie
movie.
on that. But it is a great movie, although I have such a problem with the time travel shit.
This should
that's
have been
my
the
thing.
end of this whole cycle of the MCU. Not the end of a phase, but this whole cycle. They should have started something completely new from here, even if you're just throwing away everything you did.
Yeah,
But this
I don't
movie,
disagree with you in a way.
at the time, I think we all thought this was a pretty damn good movie and a
We
pretty
did.
good ending to the
End of-
thing. So
End of
I
Infinity.
can't judge it by what they did in the phases after. I still put it at A or B.
I'm actually the same here because I don't want to blame it for what came after. People knock the whole Steve Rogers thing a lot, but I love that scene because I would do the exact same thing. And I don't think there's anything unheroic about that whatsoever. Go back and take the love of your life. The problem is we didn't resolve that after the fact. It's one thing for him to go and be with her, and that's just a beautiful scene when they're dancing together. But then what happens next, right? Do I want to blame this movie for that?
You
No,
really
I don't,
can't.
actually.
Yeah.
The second you
and-
introduce multiverse or time travel, your whole world
Yeah.
is unraveled because there's no stakes left.
I don't blame this movie for what happened after. Because
Right.
by that logic, I gotta blame the MCU for how Hollywood chose to respond to the success
Right,
of the
and that's
MCU.
what I'm
And
saying, Nick, because I'm
and
trying to think of a rating for it that it deserves.
well,
yeah.
I'm gonna go with a B because for me, the highs are really great, even though there are some lows that are really low, like Hulk and Thor, are really not greatly utilized at all. The characters went full Ruffalo and Hemsworth. Those, like in any other movie, were brought down C or D, but the highs, like Cap with Mjolnir, freaking
Right, but
awesome.
do you really think it's at the same level as the original Avengers or
I mean, the first 20
Ant-Man?
minutes
Not.
of this are horrible.
I mean, as far as yeah, in terms of enjoyability, like I said, there's some really incredible highs. There's a lot of payoffs to what came before. It's a love letter to the entire MCU up to this point as well. It really makes you, and also it connects the quantum realm, so it makes you feel like, okay, now it lets you know, hey, listen, Ant-Man movies were a waste, because you had some people who didn't see the Ant-Man movies initially just because they felt like, oh, there was no reason for that character to exist. Then you realize, oh, hold up, there is payoff to the Ant-Man movies as well. So, and of course, I hated that they did I don't mind so much that they did time travel. What I hate about was that they did 5 years, because there was stuff messed around in the books, except that was over the course of like 24 or 48 hours, not 5 freaking years. I hated that they went with 5 years. I like seeing Captain America's suit. Probably looks, outside of the first movie, this is probably my favorite iteration of the Captain America suit. I love seeing the I don't know what those things are called on the chest of the suit.
Well, the problem here is you have a time stone. See, and that's the issue. And regardless of what Doctor Strange says in the last movie, how could he have contemplated them coming up with time travel in another way? Like, I don't know. It's so, the more I think about this movie in hindsight, like, 'cause I agree with all you guys. Like, the highest highs and the lowest of lows in this movie, that's the problem. So
yeah, there's.
Ahead,
I mean, I agree with. I think it was Brian earlier that said we got to look at it for where it sits and not what came after.
No, and I'm not trying to write
it. At the time, I felt it was a really satisfying ending to that Infinity Saga.
Yeah, I don't remember anybody walking out of the theater going, that was crap.
With a lot of deep emotional moments.
All right, let's leave this one up to the audience. I think that's the
so it's at
way.
least a B, maybe even still an A.
I still
despite
think
the flaws.
probably A.
Yeah, despite the
I think
flaws.
that we are so close on both A and B that I'm going to leave it up to the audience.
Yeah, it could easily be in an A, because it was a satisfying conclusion to that saga. A lot of emotion in it, a lot of great nods to what had come before. I remember at the time thinking,
watch, we're gonna get a split number from the chat. I will not be surprised if it ends up being like 33, 33, 33.
Let's see. I gave him the third option.
Yeah,
because I thought, okay, I'm not going to put the D on there. Obviously, I can't put a fifth option.
I thought the Iron Man stuff was outstanding. I thought that was awesome with his story arc, and I know some people they should continue his character. I thought, to me at the time, this felt like it was really finishing out the Tony Stark arc, and it felt like he had done everything he could with his character up to that point. Yes. Granted, you could always do more if you're a comic fan, but I talked about in terms of what was going on with the movies and the MCU, it felt like this was really rounding out his journey full circle.
Well, let's let the audience decide. Let's go to Spider-Man Far From Home, because I thought this was far from great. This is one of the only Spider-Man, and this is where I agree with you guys, and I get kind of defensive about Homecoming, because I'm like, no, Homecoming is all about him not having the suit and him proving himself without the suit. This movie, like I said, is nothing but a 2-hour fucking funeral for Tony Stark. Like, it's just depressing, and fucking Jake Gyllenhaal is horrible as Mephisto.
Mysterio, you mean?
Mysterio, I mean, not Mephisto. Sorry. And
he might as well be, though.
Yeah, and the ending is so fucking stupid. I hate it. And it's so bad that they had to fucking deal with it in the beginning of No Way Home, even though it's part of the catalyst for No Way Home. It's still that fucking convoluted and stupid. It really was just, and you can tell at the time, especially those of us who knew the behind the scenes, that ending was really just a setup for everything going forward to where they could try and pull him out of the MCU if need be. Just like it always is for Miss fucking Amy Pascal. But anyway, this one I can't defend. Tony Stark looms heavy over the film. So what do you guys say? I'm going with like the D range on this one. CC?
I could even go as low as an F. I mean, I just found it completely confusing. It was just so poorly put together that
it's very forgettable.
Didn't even know what was going on half the time or why. And then as you say, that last act is just awful. I mean, awful to the level, is it as bad as Captain Marvel? It's pretty up there, you know.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm willing to be kind and give it a D because there's worse things, but I mean it's just
Yeah.
so sloppy.
Well, let's go with our comic guy. What do you say?
I'm gonna go with a C that teeters on D plus. And the reason why I go for the slightly higher is I actually do like the ending with the identity unveiling. I did like seeing J.K. Simmons back in the role. I thought that was really cool to have that. I actually do like Quentin Beck Mysterio in this movie. I love the suit as well. I love the effects and illusions. Now, the whole stuff connecting him to Stark Industries, I'm conflicted on that one. Now, the whole Tony Stark funeral stuff and Zendaya being awful really bring down this movie by a lot. I don't mind the idea of taking him on a trip during school, during the summer. Okay, fine. Once again, he's in high school. Those things do happen. Okay, fine. I have no issue with that. But a lot of the other stuff really, really, really bring this movie down. So those are where my big issues with this.
I will
movie
give it a
come
point
from.
for the spider monkey or whatever the fuck he called
Night
himself.
Monkey.
Night Monkey, yeah.
Yeah. It was entertaining. But man, the Stark funeral stuff was. It takes a lot for me to have one or two things really weigh something down. This one leaned into it way too much.
It was kind of like the sort of dustbin after Endgame, where you sweep the remains in from Endgame and say, "There you go."
It was an epilogue. It was an
an epilogue. That's the word.
It was an
epilogue.
Endgame epilogue.
An
And
epilogue.
I get it. You want to have continuity. Oh, that gold suit, which I know started in Infinity War. Oh, I hated seeing that suit. And then bringing the black suit was just like, come on, guys. Just give me a regular red and blue suit. Like, I feel like they were, at least with, Homecoming, even though I call him Iron Boy, at least we got to see him work without the suit, still be Spider-Man. To me, the only thing that makes him Iron Boy in that movie is the fact that Stark made his suit. And there's still that technological aspect that was voiced by Jennifer Connelly in that movie. And also we forgot that happened. But
it's a big part of the plot that it's taken away from him, and that's the point I keep making, though.
Yes. And that is the part of it that I do like on the conscious. I'm with you there in that regard. I just wish they didn't have that happen. But luckily that gets corrected on. But yeah, I'll go with the C. Once again, C minus.
Wow, you're being generous to it.
I know, and trust me, and that's because of the things that I really like. If this were like something else, this would have been a D teetering on an F.
All right, Brian.
Well, Zendaya's still in it, so it's still in it.
However,
leaving her aside, I think it does feel awful like an epilogue, as Nick said. That's the word I was reaching for.
Yeah,
pretty dull in places.
Yeah, it's barely a movie in some
It's barely a movie at some points. I don't think Gyllenhaal. I love Jake Gyllenhaal, but I really don't think he was used particularly well here. I mean, the script isn't that great in this movie. I could be generous and give it a C, I guess. It wasn't the most offensive thing I've ever seen.
Wow. All right, Brahma.
I know I watched this movie. I can't remember a single scene from it. I would absolutely watch. What do we have in the D? Is that Iron Man 3 and Thor Dark?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would absolutely watch those above this movie.
Yes, it's not better than those. Not better.
I would say F or D.
I guess we're gonna have to put it in the D's. Yeah. I can't make any better argument.
And it's still better than Captain
Marvel. Yeah, it's not as bad as that.
I know I watched it, and I cannot remember a scene from it except for maybe seeing Jake Gyllenhaal in the suit, that kind of thing.
I remember giggling at the Night Monkey shit. And that's about it.
Don't even remember the scenes.
Yeah, but anyhow, that was about it. Okay, let's see what the audience. And you guys had to call this shit. It is literally like neck. We're fucking tied at A and B. And
one more vote. Come on, somebody.
Like it's 35-35-29. Like
I knew this was gonna happen.
Who gets the
I knew this was a
vote?
divisive movie too, but
much as I'm in the A category, the fact that 29% voted C does balance it to a B.
That's a good point. I'll keep that in mind. But there's still 177 or 178.
I don't
people or
like
so
this
that
ranked
haven't voted.
choice voting idea, CC, that you're putting forward.
Get thee to Alaska.
That's right.
All right, let's talk about Black Widow. Because I did not hate this movie as much as I anticipated hating it. Although the third act is horrendous. Like they're literally falling from the sky for 45 minutes with no reason to slow them down. But other than that, I loved the chemistry with Florence Pugh and
I think I just threw up a
Scarlett
little.
Johansson. Sorry, I did. I totally did. I'll fucking admit it. I loved their chemistry, and David Harbour is always generally a welcome guest in any film. But I cannot say that the movie is good. The movie is not good. It is a horrible fucking movie. It's 5 years too late. The cast cannot save this thing. So I'm curious what you guys think about
Well,
it
the
before I make my
timing
final
does
call.
work against it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's start with you, Brian, on this one. Then I guess that's a good point.
Yeah. It's not great. Timing was terrible. It's a pointless movie. It's a D. Just didn't. I really didn't. I mean, I love Scarlett Johansson, but this isn't a good movie.
All right, Brian, Brahma, what would you say about it?
I have to abstain from the next two because I just didn't go watch them.
Didn't see him. All right,
Black Widow and Shang-Chi, didn't see him.
All right, CC.
I was so pissed off by the last 3 episodes of WandaVision. I'm serious. I was so fucking pissed off by how that show ended. That's where I tapped out. I just couldn't do it. That was my end.
So you haven't watched anything since? Is that what you're saying here?
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's how pissed off.
Well, if you want to
I
tap
was.
out of the show, that's up to you.
I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm
so
letting
like
you know.
you can hang in if you want to, but if you want to get out of here, I'll let you have an out now. So that's
I didn't tap out completely, although
I know
I
you've
probably
seen
would
a few
have.
other ones,
but
but-
I had to do homework for certain shows that I'm on, so I did see other ones, but not those.
Well,
two.
CC kind of gave me a heads up in the DMs that this was his last one that he saw. So
yeah,
I'll give you the option now. If not, you can hang in there and just chill.
I'll chill. I'm working on stuff.
All right, Nick, Black Widow.
This has to go with an F, and I take zero pride in saying that because I wanted to love this movie like no other. I'm a fan of the character in the MCU. Absolutely am of the comics. Probably one of my favorite female characters in all of fiction. And this movie hurt me because of how dirty they did Natasha, how dirty they did Taskmaster, even though you could see him walking like a guy, then being a tiny head of a female body in the suit. Then the third act was absolutely, wow, horrific to watch. And then the fact that this was basically Yelena's, once again, this is the bait and switch. This is Yelena's movie, more importantly than Natasha's movie. And this is Natasha's movie. And then you feel like her fan movie. It just felt like the next movie for her. We did not get a proper closing for Natasha Romanoff's character in this movie. And this did come 5 years too late. Red Guardian was horrendous. And dude, Florence Pugh or Florence P.U., she smells bad. What a awful interpretation of her character in Red Guardian. That scene at the table. Oh my goodness. What a really hard conversation to listen to. I have not watched this movie again, and I can't wait to never watch this movie again. I might even contemplate having pineapple or anchovy pizza over watching this movie again.
All right, I guess that's one way of putting it. Lord, I can't say this is as bad as Captain Marvel though. Like I did enjoy it a little bit more than that. So I mean, I know Sadie. I don't know if I can put it that low.
So the Eternals is the only thing that you can put as low as Captain Marvel?
Oh fuck. Oh, there's more than that. Trust me, when we get out past here, this is where like there's only like 1 or 2 movies or 3 more movies maybe that I would put that high up. I'm gonna go with D on this, and unless anybody really wants to argue for F, so I think you said about that somewhere in that range. So it sounded like so.
No, I abstained.
No, CC.
Oh, okay.
No, not CC. He didn't see it.
I said a D.
Brian. That's what I meant. Yeah, Brian.
I was being kind. I said a D.
That's
It
true.
could have been, yeah. If there was an E.
I just, yeah. Because you know what? I can't say much more than that because I watched 6 minutes of the movie and I shut it off.
Yeah, never seen it, and I never will. And gaslighting by the media was horrible for this. And the man's a horrible human being with an ego.
Soichi.
Yeah, horrible person who, I will never see this, and my life is better for it. So you can just utter garbage from what I hear.
Dude.
So I haven't seen it. It's true. I haven't seen it. It could be the best movie I'd ever seen if I'd watched it.
He's what happens when you take a skinny soy gluten-free vegan latte and make it into a Marvel movie. And then you pair that with the insufferable Aquafina. And then you say, how do you damage the Mandarin arc? Even worse, you make this movie. And then you took the 10 Rings storyline. Once again, this is the Marvel Phase 4, Phase 5 formula. Take these storylines that happen in other movies and wrap them up in characters that have nothing to do with them. Kind of like what they're doing in Brave New World with the Incredible Hulk. Now they're taking Iron Man and Iron Man 3 and factoring that into Shang-Chi. And I actually like Shang-Chi in the comics. The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu had some killer comics. I love it. It's basically just Bruce Lee in Marvel form. But then they added the powers. Oh, come on. And then there's Katie. Oh, Katie. Yeah. Please stay far away from this disaster of a flick.
I mean, it's laughable that anybody would even try, and they did. The media gaslighted the hell out of this to talk about Bruce Lee and things like that.
Dude, they're saying it was the first Asian Lee. I'm like, bro, you're annoyed. Bruce Lee, Jet Li, Jackie Chan.
This is not a criticism of the
Donnie
character
Yen.
of Shang-Chi, but of this movie. Yes. But yeah, all these great action martial arts guys.
Hey, 70s. Remember when it got greenlighted for a sequel in 2021?
Oh, still in production.
Still in development. 4 years later.
Yeah. He's too busy ending businesses of poor innocent people that he doesn't like. This guy. So.
What a horrible flick.
Terrible, yeah.
Did any of us actually watch it?
Nope.
I did. I saw it. I saw it on D Plus at the time, right when it hit D Plus, and it was a very rough watch.
Moving on. Rating the film and not him, would you still say the film is enough? Or
Oh yeah.
All right. Eternals.
Oh God! I've not seen this either, so I can't comment. But I'll never forgive them for putting the great Don Lee, Ma Dong-suk, in a Hollywood movie and making it such a bad one. Because that guy's great. He doesn't deserve to be in this shit.
Told you guys that this was going to get filled out a little bit more.
Yeah, you were right. Hashtag Tom Connors was right. Oh, dude. My goodness.
Now we get the one highlight in a long road ahead.
I watched this one.
Spider-Man No Way Home. Go ahead, CC, since you've actually seen it.
The original Spider-Man was looking a little old, but I don't care. It was an A for me. Maybe just because it was surrounded by such shit, but I enjoyed it. I don't know what more to say.
It was one of the most comic book movies of the MCU. Don't you agree, Nick?
Yes and no at the same time.
What? Go ahead. Tell us why.
Doctor Strange's portrayal. The power set, great. Personality, no. Now, that said, I still really enjoy it. I'd go with a B plus even. Because
the Scooby-Doo line was great.
Oh, yeah. But we got too much of Strange's personality. This is where you see the personality shift.
Now he was starting to lean in on the Joss Whedon, Brian Bendisisms, where everything is now a joke. So that was my issue. Now I love the Spider-Man storyline. I do actually like the way the identity was being wrapped up. I do like the villains. It was awesome to not only see Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina again. I felt like we had Jamie Foxx and Thomas Hayden Church and what was the other one?
Alfred Molina.
Reese Ifans,
Alfred
the
Molina
Lizard.
and
Yeah, they all had redemption arcs for having better material to work with. On top of it, Andrew Garfield had better material because I always said Andrew Garfield was never the problem with his movies. It was the material he had to work with. So I feel like they really redeemed his particular character arc. And I like how this movie was him becoming Spider-Man. And even though this Norman Osborn was not someone who he had any emotional attachment to, they still found a great way to make this movie very personal for him because of everything Norman was causing. So and of course the third act is absolutely stellar. And then we get my favorite Spider-Man suit in all the movies. And I'm saying all the movies. Go ahead and sue me and I'll win in every court battle. All the movies for the best suit. So yeah, this one gets a B+. And yes, I have rewatched this quite a couple of times, and I still enjoy it.
Brian?
It's got the kind of fan service that I like. With Nick really nailed it there with all the recurring or the coming back of all these great characters with the actors that portrayed them. I kind of love that stuff, and it was done well. I mean, you could quibble in a few places here and there about plot contrivances or so on, I guess, but I thought it was hugely entertaining, and it was great to see all those guys again. So I think it's an A. That's just me. I loved it.
Brahma?
So this one's weird, but I'll take it as the movie itself. I would put it at A for what it was at the time. I think we all enjoyed it. We all were saying that it was a pretty great return to form, hoping that it was a return to form. But it's also what then inspired a whole bunch of stupid member berry type stuff that we started seeing everywhere else.
Mm.
So again, taking this movie in solitary, probably an A. But then it inspired them to do all the wrong things once
I
again.
think it was done okay in this one, and then
I'm not sure if that last part is true.
We shouldn't blame this movie for once again for what others choose to do and
right. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm giving this movie an A.
Do you mean DC or do you mean Marvel? Because from here on out, the only other movie that really has become the cameo fests are Multiverse of Madness and Deadpool and Wolverine.
I mean across just all superhero movies in general, not just the MCU.
Okay. That's what I was
This
asking.
is what gave us the Flash. This is what gave us.
Well,
like
actually,
a bunch
this
of
was a
other
reaction
stuff.
to the Flash. To be honest with you,
Was it the reaction?
That's why I was
thought
asking.
This one came first.
Yeah, because that's the funny part. Because here's the thing: the Flash took so long to get made and come out, and was reshot so many times. Spider-Man: No Way Home. This wasn't even the original Spider-Man 3 we were going to get. Spider-Man 3 was going to have more to do with the shit that's in the front end of the film, more so, and less to do with anything else other than that. I think the multiverse stuff was going to come into it, but it didn't have anything to do with bringing in other Spider-Man.
To the not Flash movie.
Yeah,
maybe I'm just misremembering the timeline again. Because
that's okay. Because what happened was they reacted to Michael Keaton being cast as Batman. So like, oh, that's cute. Well, let's bring back both Spider-Men.
Right.
And remember, that was like the worst kept secret for like a year. Because they kept saying, oh, no, that's not true. And even Garfield was out there saying, no, I'm not going to be in the next movie. And and everybody else was saying, oh, no, it's not true. And then all of a sudden it was true. Right? Like, because everybody knew.
So for me, this is also 2 months before I started streaming on like Comics
right.
Channel
And they also
everything.
happened to get this movie written shot, and all that shit out before Flash was even done shooting, I think, in the first round, let alone the reshoots. So, like, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. That's why most people think that this was technically first when it was actually, this was a reaction to them doing the Flash with Michael Keaton.
I also think a lot of people don't remember that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's arcs in this movie are not just mere cameos. There is meat to the bone with them. One, Andrew Garfield not only gets his redemption for the bad movies, but because he talks about where he went off after the second movie, how he's in a dark place after Gwen Stacy had died. Tobey Maguire, he gets the redemption because, well, his third movie was left hanging, but also they're there to balance out Tom Holland's Peter because he was coming from a very bad place, and they were trying to, reach out to him on an emotional core.
And will you reach out and balance my Peter?
They did make Doctor Strange look like kind of an idiot in this.
They did. Yeah. I can't disagree with some of that shit. And the problem with Flash was like, yeah, there was no good reason for Michael Keaton to fucking be there. Like,
right.
He's just there. In this, at least there's a reason for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's cameos when they're just for the sake of being cameos.
Like, just to be in it, yeah.
Like a movie we're just going to talk about soon.
This is where COVID and everything over the past 5 to 6 years has been so weird, because I could have sworn I talked about The Flash on stream. But if The Flash came before it, that would be impossible.
It was made before, it was started before, but it didn't come out till like a year after or whatever. It was a year and a half even.
That makes more sense.
So no, you're right. Like I was saying, it's not your fault, because
I wasn't tied in at the time, so I would have thought that Spider-Man was doing the member berries.
Six wants to know how much to move Captain Marvel up. 50. I ain't gonna bilk her for that much.
50.
I don't know. 6 does so much. I don't know. I can't. Somebody's got to give me a real good argument for that movie
6
existing.
I think it would have to be argument. 6 giving you that argument.
6 is the argument, yes.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to write an essay, and I don't want to read
she's
one.
Trolling you. I think she's trolling you.
I don't know if she is. No, I genuinely think she does actually like the film. She likes most of the Marvel films. Sorry.
I do too.
Are we ever gonna decide on Avengers?
Yeah, it's at a B.
Oh, and I'm still waiting for it to not be so fucking close.
Okay. No, it's quite a distance.
Hey, I think I'm right.
Is it? All right, let's
B's well ahead. Well, 5%.
All right, last chance to get in your vote, guys. I'll give it one more.
Ooh, you're generous.
Because we got at
the
least
4 a.m. vote dump coming.
Right.
Well, we've got almost twice as many. We have twice as many people on YouTube side. So I mean, I want to be fair and at least give everybody a chance to vote.
I think B's.
But it looks like B's going to win.
Ahead, yeah.
All right. Well, while we're deciding on, we'll let that roll while we're deciding on Spider-Man No Way Home, because, I'm going to give the honest opinion of this is this did so much for not just myself, but I think a lot of folks of rebranding Spider-Man in this world, because Brown, you said you're not a big fan of the character, and
I'm not a big fan of Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, I mean, sorry, that's what I was referring to. I honestly liked him from the start. I just thought he was kind of shoved in shitty movies. This was the first time where I felt like he actually earned his place, where a lot of people were like not so cool with him before. His arc worked. The fact that they didn't have Ben there was kind of made up with Marissa Tomei's death and the way it worked out there. You had all this stuff kind of coming together and making Spider-Man. And to me, it felt like a special bonus issue of a comic book you usually get, those special, not a graphic novel so much, but a big special bonus issue where all these Spider-Men are coming together, and it was 10 times better than Spider-Verse was, in my opinion.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So I mean, really, I think it deserves to be on the A tier. It is such a comic booky movie.
I won't argue.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
What I do like is that it really recontextualized his Peter Parker story, because now it makes you realize, this was basically a whole developing of his character becoming Spider-Man in retrospect. Because at the time, you don't know it when you're going through Homecoming and Far From Home, and now with No Way Home, it's like, okay, this is really a drawn-out origin story if you think about it in that aspect. And it was. Because now we finally see him become Spider-Man, his own independent hero, his no technology. He's making his own suit again, and it's bright-colored, too, and it's gorgeous to see in the web-slinging shots in the snow, too, might I add. And even Zendaya, and I love ripping on her, but in this movie, she was actually trying to be her Peter Parker's supporter and not her lecturer. So his lecturer. So I'll say credit where it's due, even to her in this movie. I'm not saying she's great.
She still couldn't manage to produce an ounce of emotion.
No,
but Well, she kind of did, but once again, I'm saying she was a lot better in this movie compared to the other ones, and she was not the snotty brat like Amber in season 1 of Invincible.
No, she's actually helpful and supportive. Yeah,
Yeah, she's very emotionally supportive of Peter. She really
understanding.
yeah, and that's something we're not getting for a while. So it was there. I mean, you can hate her all you want, and I'm not a fan of her either. But you got to look at this for what it is, not just because I can't stand Zendaya. It's just automatically bad.
Well, I did.
And
That's why I gave it an A.
She is off in a lot of things too.
Time to move on.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
go.
we're done with that. Let's see what the audience says about Endgame. All right, guys, last chance. This is it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the winner is B. Oh.
Well, I think you'll have to
here.
pick C because A and B are ruled out with this rank choice thing. So C is really the winner.
That sounds like a
Just
3 a.m.
kidding.
I'm not listening to your nonsensical Canadian Scottish bullshit right now. And you guys don't know how to math up there.
We can count our tariffs up pretty well.
No, you guys are doing the kilometers and all this other weird shit.
We know how to
you don't
count
even know how to
tariffs.
use degrees right. Like this is zero
It's
bullshit.
zero
Just to
and
like
zero.
bullshit.
You guys can't even hockey.
Yeah, you guys can't even hockey right, and that's supposed
Hey,
to be your thing.
I was following Finland, so
That's even worse.
Oh shit! All right, Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness, Laud,
the
Laud.
WandaVision sequel. Yes,
the WandaVision sequel,
Doctor
Laud.
Strange.
Wanda
and the Mom.
Jerkabov.
I remember going to this film very excited, thinking it's going to be a follow-up to Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, where we left off. Sam Raimi's directing it. This has got to be semi-decent, at least, if not good. Boy, was I fucking wrong. Visually, it's cool. It's got some Sam Raimi isms in there. It's got some moments. But the best I can give it is a C, and that's being super fucking generous. Super fucking generous.
Yeah, there were definitely some fun parts to it.
Oh,
And there
yeah.
was some absolutely stupid stuff. But this was more of, I guess what I was getting at for the last one was the fan service. Like this, we bring in the Fantastic Four just to have them obliterated in a matter of seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of another
Reed
problem.
Richards
It was
and Black
like-
Bolt were brought
Yeah.
in, who are supposed to be some of the most intelligent characters in all the Marvel U, and they were anything but.
There were some absolutely fun parts to the movie, though.
There
But
was.
the whole thing fell apart on being around Scarlet Witch
America
because
Chavez
her
was
motivation was so stupid.
awful.
Your
America
fake kids that never
Chavez.
existed, you're going to go pull them out of another
Oh,
universe
yeah.
where they still shouldn't exist, but apparently they do. And then you're going to screw over a
Oh, that's
copy of
terrible.
you because you're so selfish.
Rachel
No,
that
McAdams'
was awful.
character did not need to be involved in Strange's fight too. That was such a early stage DEI thing. We gotta include her as part of the story too, because now everyone is a hero, even if they have no powers. And if there's a nitpicker out there, we know Batman has no powers, but Batman's also a very exceptional character. So don't try to throw that Batman argument at me. You get my point. Rachel McAdams' character, Christine Palmer, did not need to be involved with Strange's encounter at the near end of the movie. America Chavez was awful. Her stuff evolved. Oh, that horrible where you could tell when you see Black Bolt, Captain Carter, Mr. Fantastic, you could tell they all filmed their shots individually.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, and Patrick
my
Stewart as
goodness.
Professor X.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
they're all
he
completely
was in
separate.
there.
And that's where some of the
Oh.
member berries comes in. But yeah, like C at best, possibly a D.
I'd give it
There
a D.
were fun parts to the movie,
I'd give it a D because there was.
but overall it was bad.
Visually, there was some good stuff, but yeah, it's pretty poor otherwise. But it's not an F. I think it's a D.
Yeah, you guys are not convincing me here one way or another. I'm so.
It's not an F.
Yeah, but does it deserve to be a D?
I feel like that's being too nice to it because of how much it damaged it. You
got a
had an
point.
opportunity where you could have made Strange one of the faces, if not the face of the MCU.
Alright.
Was at least one of them?
Well,
And
they
they
did in
killed-
Spider-Man, the movie before it.
Yeah, but they killed it with this movie, and
end up being now they're already bringing Clea. Come on, really? We barely got to grow its traits. And then on top of it, he ends up not being the Sorcerer Supreme. I was okay with it initially when he was not in the first movie because he's got to earn his way. Fine. I'm all about the hero's journey. I'm consistent. And then they're thinking, okay, going to early in the second movie. Well, he was away for a bit. Okay, fine. And then ends up just being Wong and staying Wong. There's something wrong with that.
I think we're sticking with D on this one because I know you got to leave us soon, Nick, and we're getting long in the tooth on this one.
Yeah, I could answer on 2 of the scores too before I slide out. So
yeah, well, I was going to say I think there's a few things. Yeah, you can throw them in the background just in case we don't get to them here because we got some super chats to get to too.
All right, yeah.
But yeah, there's 3 here right in a row that I don't think.
F.
Look, F. And I have not seen Quantumania. Can anybody make an argument where this should land? It's a D.
It's a D.
D.
Yeah, it was okay, and some okay stuff.
Don't know that it was okay. I mean, there was.
I don't like the message. They had too much message at the end.
Well, I mean, this is more Kang, and Bill Murray's absolutely stupid in this movie.
So, Nick, have you seen Ant-Man at all, or no?
Did not see Quantumania. Did not see Love and Thunder. Did not see Wakanda Forever or Guardians 3 or Brave New World.
You haven't seen Guardians 3 yet?
Oh, I have not.
All right. Well, I know do you want to step out now or did you want to stick around a little bit longer?
How much do you plan on blazing through the next 3 movies?
Well, I'm pretty sure that this is getting a D from what it sounds like.
15 to 20 minutes.
So if that, yeah. Because we got some super chats to go through here too. So
I do got to get going, but I'll just.
I got your ratings here. All right. So, all right. Well, thank you for being here, Nick. We love you, and take care of yourself. And
thanks for having me.
I'm sure we'll see you on Mead. And anything else you want to plug on your way out?
Yes, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure for Toxic Tuesday this Tuesday night. You better all show up. It's going to be diabolically huge. Now, enjoy the rest of this show with these amazing gentlemen. I'm always honored to hang out with you guys, and thanks for having me, chat. I love the engagement with this show, and hopefully, guys, as I get out here, let Tom know some choices for next Sunday. Please make your voices heard. So, okay, sliding out.
See you, buddy.
You pull out now.
Later.
He, unlike Elon, has a pull-out game. All right. So, was there any of those 3 that? Or we did Quantumania and everybody chimed in. So, all right, let's get to these.
Still arguing that Quantumania is an F.
I wouldn't. I don't care. Put it in a D or an F.
Yeah, it was.
I don't care enough about it.
I mean, is there enough of them? I'll go. I haven't seen it. This is one of the only ones that I have not seen of the newer ones besides Wakanda. And this one are the only 2 that I didn't watch. Shang-Chi, I started, but I quit, so I can at least consider it.
I just can't put it down at an F with the others.
All right.
It had a few moments.
Yes.
All right. I think we're going to leave it in the D for now, guys, and then we'll see what you guys are saying in the chat otherwise. We got Black Kane sending in $5. Says we should have had a Bucky cap, but a criminal uses a counterfeit bill and OTs, and now we're stuck with Captain African America Falcon. Yeah, I knew it had to do with something. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. Who knows? Fuck if I know. But thank you for that, Black Kane. Jason Webster says, Tom, if this chart had a shit, stupefyingly hideous, insane tripe tier, that is wholeheartedly where Captain Marvel and its sequel belong. Well, that's basically what the F tier is, the shit tier. Yeah, Jason. Marks 47 says, holding my breath until Endgame is an A. Oh, I was kind of giving it a shot, but it landed in the B's.
Dead now.
Yeah. Kalekioki says Aunt May's death was dumb. I didn't think so. I thought it was well handled, actually, but you're entitled to your opinion. Jason Webster says Eternal belongs in the shit tier where it is. Worse than F. Lee Dong-suk, Train to Busan, was completely wasted as Gilgamesh.
Yes, that's what I was saying. They put it's Ma Dong-suk, Don Lee.
Sorry.
No, it's Jason said Lee Dong. It's Ma Dong-suk. He was completely wasted. I mean, putting him in anything in an English language perspective, and it had to be that shit, because he's a brilliant actor and a great action star. It was just completely wasted. What a shame.
Hillis Mallory has been here for 38 months. Thank you for that, Hillis. And he then sends in a $5 super chat and says, Captain Marvel had Nick and Phil at their best and good rapport with them and Vers D tier for sure. Vers. What's Vers?
With them and their... I don't know. Is it a pronoun thing?
I think so, maybe. I'm not translating it completely there. You can send us in a regular super, or not a super chat, but a regular chat just to kind of explain what you mean there, buddy. Because I think I lost it in translation. And plus I'm like half baked right now. I'm so like out of it. Anyway,
Veers.
Oh, Veers.
Yeah. Okay.
So what was he saying then? It was,
I don't know. You'd have to bring it back up.
so the first one, is he saying that well, no, I know, I'm trying to figure out, is he saying the first Captain Marvel was good because of Nick and Phil? Who's Nick and Phil? Captain Marvel had Nick and Phil at their best and good rapport with them, and Veers D tier for sure. So I think he's making an argument for Captain Marvel to be in the D tier.
Vers was her name before she was discovered to be Carol Danvers.
Yes, right, yeah.
That's what Hillis Mallory said in regular chat.
Yeah, okay.
Danvers.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Shows you how little I regard that movie. I couldn't even remember.
Phil Coulson, Nick Fury.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
They had some reasonable.
I forgot Phil was even in it.
Yeah,
I did too.
I don't remember him even being in it. I've seen the fucking movie once, and I was so pissed leaving the theater. Like, that had absolutely motherfucking nothing to do with the Infinity War and Endgame. Nothing.
We're missing a movie before the next one.
Are we?
Yeah.
Which one?
Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. It was a
I know. I was
movie.
thinking.
Oh, I didn't bring in any of the,
because that was
anything from the
stuff.
Streaming services.
Yeah.
But that was a movie, not a series. So.
I still can't believe
you've
not got Captain America 1990 in here. I cannot believe
I went
that.
to their actual website and they had two things separated. They had the movies and then they had the other stuff, and that was in the other stuff.
It's not part of the MCU. No.
Yeah, I don't blame you for not putting it in, but it was an excellent movie.
It is, and I don't disagree with you. You kind of have to. You don't have to, but it kind of helps to see it before Guardians 3.
A little bit. Not required viewing.
But no. It was good. It was
very funny. Yeah. Well, if anything, it's a nice side bit before you get into the heavy dutiness of Guardians 3, which is a little bit more
some
heavy-handed. Yeah.
A little dark.
But it is one of the better villains that we've had in a while. I enjoyed Guardians 3. Actually didn't like it as much as 2, but I know most people did like it more than 2. So
I liked it more than 2.
I was gonna say, I figured you guys will. Let's go ahead. Start, Brian.
Well, Brian, go first.
No, go, because you're arguing against me and Tom's argument here. So,
I just felt emotionally it had more going for it. Some really, other than obviously Yon doing the 2, but it just had some really strong emotional storylines, and I don't know, I just loved it. I mean, I felt exceptionally enjoyable. Great Rocket, particularly the Rocket arc. So I'm just a sucker for that stuff sometimes. So
would you say a B or an A?
Well, I'm swithering between the two. I mean, some days I would think an A, and others I would think a B. But I found it really, really satisfying. So I'm going to say A, just to annoy everybody.
No, that's fine. Brahma, what do you say?
I mean, I would go A, B, C with 1, 2, 3, but I think it's still better than anything that we've got on C. So I would definitely put it on the B tier. Rocket's backstory, all that stuff was great. It was a lot darker than the other stuff. They got away from some of the humor that they've had in some of the other movies, which was kind of refreshing at the same time. But they absolutely ruined what's his face's character. Who was the
Drax?
guy that it?
I
No,
don't know.
the one that at 2 they teased.
God.
The alternate was going to be a
and
villain.
I just forgot his name. Not Nova.
Yeah, it just went out of my mind too.
Adam Warlock.
Adam
Warlock. You see, I like the Warlock
Thank you, chat.
ending. I like the ending for Warlock, and especially as you mentioned Robert Fripp, which is great. And anyone
that's probably
Robert
like
Fripp.
my issue is like, I mean, all the things you're saying, Brahma, I don't disagree with, and they're all good things, but there are also some parts of them that are bad things. So it's kind of
Adam Warlock was absolutely wasted as a character being brought into the MCU at this point, but they kind of, I guess, felt like they had to after the tease in Guardians 2, because he should have been probably part of the Infinity War, because wasn't that where he was in the comics? Wasn't he a major portion of the Infinity War?
I
or
don't
the
think they
Infinity
ever were
Stone saga?
Were they planning on bringing him in for the Infinity?
Well, Guardians
saga?
2
I don't
was
know.
long before that, but
You
then
might
you had
be
the
right.
James Gunn situation. Guardians
I know,
3
that's the problem
probably
with
would
this
have come
movie.
out before then.
Because you're not wrong. That's what looms over this movie is the fact that we know this is the last time James Gunn is going to be working with them. And if there is anything past this that's Guardians, he's not going to be a part of it. And look, once we get to, we already talked about Love and Thunder. Like Love and Thunder, that was one of my biggest pet peeves of that film is like, clearly you can see where at least 50%, if not more, of the charm in the Guardians films and Infinity War and Endgame came from James Gunn, because Taika Waititi does not understand the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're like completely different fucking characters in that movie.
Right.
And they're all assholes.
And it's Taika Waititi just running wild with Taika Waititi-isms.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's everything that everybody thinks about Thor Ragnarok, only to me, I can see it, and I agree with everybody.
I feel the same about both.
I can understand that, but this movie, it doesn't work for me at all. Like, it's completely just fucking grating throughout the entire film.
Yep. But
especially when like the entire, it's not so much like Ragnarok, like the big problem at the end is like, I see where you're saying with like the joke at the end. The problem with Love and Thunder is you got a movie that's trying to be funnier than Ragnarok when it's about somebody dying of cancer. Like, I'm not saying you can't make a comedy around that, but like, this is not the type of comedy you would make around, you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
And just annoying comedy, screaming goats and crap for, no.
Yeah, just horrible shit. This, of course, was a much better film. So like, you guys, I mean, I guess I can live with putting it on the B tier.
I can't put it in C with those movies.
Right, no way.
Put it on B, but I can't put it in A either.
Put it in B then.
Yeah, I would love to put it in A.
I can live with that.
But to me, the second film is better, and since you guys made me put the second film in B, I got to at least put it on the same level. And it does have this, like I said, it has that looming issue with it that it just feels like, this is kind of the end of an era. At least it does close off the Guardians trilogy well.
Well, it was an end of an era.
Yeah.
Like 7 years too late.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right. Yeah, it's got a lot of problems in that
respect. If it had fit in where it should have been slotted in, then the story might have made better sense going into the end of phase 3.
Mo Zamboni.
We got the Mo Zamboni in the house. How you doing, Mo? Sends in 10 and says, got to stream with Tom in 70s this past week. Oh, that was you? No, I'm just kidding. You guys are so damn funny. Tom, you really need to do new voiceovers for old trailers. I laughed so hard on Jay's stream when you redid Conan. I do that sometimes in some places it works out, sometimes not so much. But yeah, no, I enjoy doing voiceovers and voices and stuff. It is one of my passions. But thank you. It was good meeting you, or actually getting to talk to you anyway, Mo. And hopefully we get to hang out some more here soon. But let's move on here because we've got some more trash to talk about.
Never seen it.
We got like a shit sandwich here where the meat's good, but the fucking bun's horrible. The bun's moldy and greasy and green. And anyway, we got the Marvel. Like, who the fuck's gonna argue? I mean, the only thing I can say that's positive about the Marvels is it's one of the shortest fucking Marvel movies there is.
I will say that the younger, what is her name?
What's her face? She's not that
Kamala
bad.
Khan.
Yeah.
She was actually earnest in trying to do her best, and it came through. everybody else in the movie, insufferable and stupid.
Felt like they didn't even want to be there.
The movie sucked. I mean, the whole visiting a planet where everybody can only understand you if you sing the words was one of the dumbest things I have ever seen.
Why did you remind me of that?
Life.
I forgot about that. Oh my God.
It's like, how can you understand English?
I'm just going to leave that down here.
Yeah. How can you understand English if only spoken through song? That is literally one of the dumbest concepts I've ever seen. It's like a bad Star Trek episode where everything just went way off the rails wrong. For that scene. The rest of the movie was dumb as hell too. But that whole planet was just why?
I hate to say this, but is Six listening still? Because this movie almost makes an argument for why maybe she's right that Captain Marvel doesn't belong in the F tier, because this is worse than the first movie.
Oh, it's far worse.
That's true.
So it's like, oh shit.
But can you put all the movies in D along with Captain Marvel? That's the other question.
I know, that's the fucking problem.
That's why we need pluses and minuses.
You almost don't need an S tier, but you do need, I think we do need a shit tier. I think you're...
Yeah, a garbage receptacle tier.
Oh,
yes.
fuck.
I can't believe you didn't remember the singing planet.
I stabbed it out of my fucking brain, man. Like, you don't understand. When I hate movies and shit or they drive me nuts, like, I will try to do everything I can to never even remind myself about anything.
There's only so much room in the brain, and you just want to get stuff out of there.
And luckily, The Marvels was one of those movies that we went past real quick, so I didn't have to talk about it a lot. For some reason.
I got a good week of 4 shows doing it.
I didn't, though. I got lucky on that. Well, you know what it was, Brahmas? Because and this is what I yelled at fucking Flash for Saturday night. Because I refused to watch this son of a bitch, and he begged me to watch it so we could talk about it on Flashcast. And he talked me into it. He's like, it's short, dude. Just watch it and fast and blah, 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 blah. And he sent me, a link to a copy or whatever. I'll say that much. And so I got to watch it, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. And I got mad at him for making me watch it. But that was like, I think the only time I talked about it was on his show.
Yeah.
So...
Because you definitely didn't watch it for Thursday night for comics.
No. By the time I watched it, everybody already talked about it. And,
yeah.
All right. I think we're past that already. Deadpool and Wolverine. This to me is a lot like Spider-Man, where it feels like a comic book special issue. And I just loved every fucking minute of it. And every time I've seen this one like 4 times since it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I see it, I still stand by that this movie's a lot more clever than people give it credit for. Yes, it has a few issues, I'm not going to lie. But I feel like the fact that it's really so meta in this way of commenting on how Disney buying the Fox, buying out Fox Studios is what's causing this whole fucking rift.
Yeah, the issues with it are that you had to bring in the TVA and that BS that Marvel had screwed up. Because the way they dealt with it was actually pretty good. I mean, both Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are great. All the fight scenes were great. The jokes landed. I mean, the member berries crap in this actually landed for most people to a huge degree. I don't know that it will.
Members berries if it works though. See, like, I mean, I'm not going to argue that some of it isn't probably, but.
No, I mean, it's nostalgia bait either way. I mean, whether you call it member berries, nostalgia bait, whatever, or just
but it almost works with the
huge
movie.
Cameos. It did work, but it would have worked the same without them.
You're not wrong, but I guess what I'm saying is like, okay, they bring in Chris Evans, but the joke is, and it works with the plot, right? It's not even so much that his cameo is just there to be a cameo, right? It's like Deadpool assumes, it's Captain America.
Don't expect him to,
and then you realize, and then, it's not even so much we don't expect; it's that he doesn't expect, because that's where he hasn't quite put together, and he never really does quite put together. We do as the audience, though, that it's not Chris Evans, because Chris Evans wouldn't be in the whatever you call it, the Void or whatever. I forgot what the hell it was called, the place they sent him to. For some reason, all of a sudden, I'm just drawing a blank about it. But is it the Void or what is it called?
The Fade? No.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with the Void.
We'll go with the Void.
I'm trying to remember. It's some word like that. Somebody in the chat will get it. Anyway, he wouldn't be in there. The Captain America wouldn't be. Of course, the Johnny Storm would be there though, along with all these other characters that are now gone. Not just
but it could have been a billion other versions of Captain America, just like there were a billion versions.
Void. It could have, but it's not, and that's my exact point. It's not. So that being said, that's my whole point. Is all the cameos that are here, as gratuitous as they may feel on the surface, they're not really, and that's my point. Is
I'm
they're
not
there
saying
for the
member
reason.
berries are always a bad thing.
You're
they're
not.
always.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I'm not even really arguing so much as I'm asking you guys. Does that really count as member berries though? Like that's my question, I guess.
I think the way they were introduced, it does not help the movie on repeat viewings where they slow-mo all of them in, because that was the member berry part. Because I could skip that 5 minutes of them being slow introduced, and that was specifically for the first viewing.
All right.
After that, it means nothing to bring them in that way.
All right. Well, I'm still going A tier on this one because I think this is like, I mean, whoever thought this movie was even going to really fucking happen the way it did, let alone be as good as it was, I guess. Go ahead, Brian.
I loved it. Especially as I love all Deadpool characters. But I would have been tempted to give it a B, but for one thing that makes me give it an A, and that's Blade. Putting Blade in it.
Bringing him into
Wesley
the MCU.
Snipes into it was just the biggest, best fucking thing ever. So that's an A for me.
I would go A normally, but I don't know that it's going to stand up as an A in the future.
It probably won't. I think
it'll be a solid B in the future. I think
yeah.
current feelings on it are A.
Yes.
But I would probably say B is where it's actually supposed to be placed.
I think you're right. I'm giving it current. It's still fresh in my mind. That's why I'm giving it an A. Loved it.
And I love what's coming out that
over time it might not age as well. Yeah.
I love what's coming out that Nice Pool was supposed to be Faldoni, because that makes it even funnier. I thought it was just gay Canadian Ryan Reynolds, but the fact that we've got
once
that
you read those texts,
story coming up
is kind of
makes it even funnier that Blake Lively as what was her name, Sheeple, or
I think the audience is going to get pissed, but
I don't care.
I'm going A. I don't give a shit. Let's be real.
There's a wide range for all of these.
It's the best thing we've had in a long time.
Look, guys, I was just going to say, not only is it that, but it's probably the last A tier Marvel movie, close to A tier Marvel movie we're going to fucking get, guys.
Probably.
Most of the stuff I watch now is Korean or Japanese or whatever. It's one of the few Hollywood English language movies that I watched last year. And it was and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I
think it's just whether people like Ryan Reynolds' humor still or not. I do.
Mo Zamboni says Blade avoided paying taxes, a real superhero. Well, did he though? He ended up having to go to jail for that.
But he didn't pay him.
Well, did he not pay him? Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Did a deal of some.
I guess I have to look into that. I didn't. Well, yeah, he did, but I
think that was.
Wouldn't he still have to pay him off eventually? I mean,
I don't know if they did make him pay it back.
I have to look into that. Yeah,
he went bankrupt.
Hillis Mallory says thoughts on the dude from Free Guy placed in his Juggernaut. You know, I didn't hate this Juggernaut, and at this point, like that was one of the jokes I liked was that they're like, oh, so we got
another Juggernaut.
Yeah, so
because Ryan Reynolds was a Juggernaut in Deadpool 2.
Yep. So no, I didn't have a problem with it. Sabretooth Raptor sends in 2 and says Z tier is needed time. Maybe for one movie though, I don't know. I was just joking mostly because honestly, I didn't really hate the like that scene is the worst scene, the singing scene. But outside of that, there has the first movie has actually got some worse moments in it. Probably the problems with the Marvels is just all the baggage it has coming into it, really, and it's just the fact that it exists. Period.
And they marketed it as a female's undercarriage on the poster.
There was that. Marks 47 says create a Disney Plus tier under F. Well, that's pretty much where all the Disney Plus shit belongs for the most part. I think the only things anybody could make any arguments for would probably be that Werewolf by Night and maybe Hawkeye. And that's just because Hawkeye doesn't fail until the last episode. Otherwise, every other one of the shows falls apart either
and
within
Guardians,
the first 2 or 3.
Holiday
yeah,
special.
that's a standalone. Yeah, as a standalone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Along with Werewolf. Yeah, you're right.
Because
I have never seen that one actually. The Werewolf one I haven't watched yet, but people said I would like that one.
Yeah, I haven't.
But here we are to the end of the road, and I think only 2 of us. I only think only 2 of us on the panel have seen this piece of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, does this even belong? Like, this isn't even a fucking movie. Like, you and I haven't talked about this yet. So, what did you think of the movie, Brahmable?
I thoroughly did not enjoy it. And that's not just the negativity towards Marvel lately. This was a genuinely bad movie with some of the worst real world politics thrown into it that I can think of. Because at what point did we decide we're going to start subbing the Japanese people in for the Chinese, and that the Americans are going to literally be subservient to the rest of the world about something? I mean, his
Hollywood
comments
has always catered to China.
I understand that, but so then you try to make Japan into being the bad guy here? Well, really, they're trying to make America be the bad guy.
Actually, I was going to say, what do you really would think about it? Yeah, we're technically the bad guys.
Right, but the fact that we would be deferring to Japan at any point is kind of a joke in and of itself. I mean, they're an ally.
This whole movie's a fucking
everybody
joke.
knows that America is not going to defer to India and Japan.
So I think you're on the same place I am with this thing, basically.
I probably would put it at a D, but F is perfectly fitting too. I mean, it's just a stupid movie. The Red Hulk fight against him is absolutely stupid. He would be pulverized, even with vibranium. He'd be pulverized, or if he hit him in the wings are still connected to, his body, through the suit. It's still going to break every bone in your body, even though it hits it. My FU movie moment was the first minute and a half of the movie when he flies straight down, breaks the sound barrier, lands without slowing down at all, and he still has no super serum. So he'd be pulverized there. And then says, wait for it, and a blast of sound comes down and knocks everybody down.
Right, and even some of that
it was immediately FU movie. And
I've said before, like, I can give some of that shit a little leeway, because even Iron Man, you got to give me some good reasons why he wouldn't be a puddle of blood and guts by the end of some of the shit he does, vibranium or not. Same thing here, though. You're right. Like, it goes overboard.
He's tanking things from a Hulk. I mean,
yeah. And look, I don't normally do this, but knowledge, man. Look, you were like screaming and hollering about fucking Deadpool and Wolverine being nothing but member berries, and then you come back with Red Hulk was cool. Get the fuck out of here! Like, just seriously, man. Like, I can't take that serious, man. The Red Hulk was one of the dumbest last minute things in this fucking movie, and it should have been one of the main points. If anything, that's the other problem, is this movie's more of a sequel to other things than it is Captain America. Like, you didn't even bring that up yet, and that's the biggest problem with it. This movie is
so much freaking homework for this stupid movie.
This is a culmination of everything that's wrong with the MCU and DEI and woke bullshit and everything. Yes, exactly. And politics being a part of movies, no matter how they've reconfigured it, reshot it, reconfigured it, doesn't matter. It's still a bloody fucking mess.
Yeah. And as much as they tried to, I think, go back and scrub politics out of it for their 4th reshoot or whatever number it was, they still left in enough, it's still the TV or the Disney Plus series. It's just Falcon having a chip on his shoulder as he's now Captain America, supposedly. Yeah. It's just him whining about, well, is anybody ever actually gonna respect me? Because, Steve Rogers and me, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, apparently not, because all you do is whine about your position at all times, or sit there, and I think even the movie said it, try to be a therapist. I didn't buy him and his new little Falcon buddy at any point. The banter was horrible. About the only thing that was good was when he was talking with Bucky, because Bucky and Falcon actually worked through most of these things, but the banter in the rest of this movie is absolutely just stupid. I cannot understand how anybody could like this movie. But I don't know that it's a F tier at the same time. The whole battleship scene was stupid, but also kind of cool.
I can't think of a good reason why it shouldn't be F tier, though. That's the thing.
Right. I mean there's a couple scenes that were kind of cool. But He's not a super soldier. He can throw the shield through a door where he can't see anybody and it still hits 6 people in the head, ricocheting off of them, and then he catches it. I mean, there's no reason that Falcon should be this good with the shield without any kind of, super soldier serum or something. Just because he was throwing against trees with pillows on it in the series doesn't mean he's going to be able to do everything that Steve Rogers did. No, I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I can't think of any other reason why it should be any higher.
Bucky should have been Captain
horrible.
America if you were going to pass it on, because he's at least got things going for him. Falcon is literally a guy that has military grade wings. That's all he's been. And then you throw him into, in the first few minutes, he basically gets fought to a standstill with a guy. And that's a street level character.
Yeah,
Captain America's not having that problem with any street level thug. Come on.
No, I can't think of any good reason why this movie should be any higher than F. And I think, considering this is the longest tier maker we've done since one of the year ones, I think we've done a good job here. I don't think that I was surprised. I thought maybe we'd have to move some stuff around, but I think this looks good. I think
it's interesting. In a normal situation, you would get that kind of curve where there's more in the middle and less in the top and bottom, but this one's the opposite.
Yeah, well, you can kind of see.
You can see the phases.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think it's a pretty good tier. I think we did a good job, guys.
It's pretty
Hopefully
close.
You guys agree out there.
The only thing I don't agree with is I cannot put what did we put? Avengers Endgame below Civil War? That's the only one I don't agree with.
There's some people who might disagree. And I'm sure there's some people going to disagree with some of these films on an individual basis. But I think overall, as far as a consensus, I think most people will agree with this for the most part, outside of a few random.
Most people don't like our take on Deadpool and Wolverine.
No.
Jason
Webster, speaking of that, says Marvel films are furious with Ryan Reynolds. They may very well replace him as Deadpool. Oh, I think they.
Good luck with that.
First of all, I don't think there was any plans to do a whole hell of a lot with Deadpool post Deadpool and Wolverine until it was a huge hit in the first place. And Ryan Reynolds has maintained that. And you know why he has? Because that's a tactic to where he can go in with a negotiation then. And look, this is bad for him. So he's not going to negotiate a Deadpool 4 right now. He even made a joke about it on the SNL 50th anniversary thing about his status right now in the news. So with that,
what did he say? Do you remember what he actually said? Paraphrase.
Okay, so I can't remember. It was the two of the chicks that are up there, and it's it was what's their faces, Baby Mama chick and what's her face from 30 Rock or whatever. The two chicks,
Tina Fey,
thank you, and the other one, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Hey, Ryan, how you doing?" And he's like, "Great. Why? What have you heard?" That's it. That's really
heard
all
a lot.
was. Yeah, and then everybody laughs and he sits down. Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, nothing. We were just asking how you were doing." That was it. That was the whole bit.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's not aware,
right? But at the same, I think this is him being pussy whipped and is going to cost him a lot of fans, where he just went along with his wife because his wife is a demanding woman. He has played games in the past, but not on behalf of her.
Then again, there's people
released
that would say
the footage for Deadpool originally to make sure that Deadpool maybe got shot.
The problem you have here, okay, here's the thing, and this is the weird thing, because I like Ryan Reynolds movies, don't get me wrong, but I've heard for years that he is an asshole. And not only that, like a lot of this, like he's a controlling, egotistical maniac. And then you go by what some of the people are saying and what we've heard and what we're seeing with some of this Blake Lively shit. It sounds more like he's controlling her career and she's allowing it because like she wanted it because now he's made her a star, basically helped make her a star. And a lot of the tactics that they did to Baldoni is exactly what happened to Liefeld. Although I don't think Liefeld has connected the dots yet either, because he has nothing negative to say about Ryan Reynolds. But if you don't notice, or if you've looked into the Baldoni shit, he don't tell you how he feels. If anything, he kisses your ass even more if he hates you. That's what we learned from the Baldoni shit.
Yeah.
So he's one of those individuals. So again, I'm not trying to whatever with it. But I don't think he's gonna do too much for right now. I think he's gonna lay low until all the.
I don't think it's going to hurt Reynolds that much.
Not as much. The worst part is him getting drug into all this whole thing and
yeah.
Or dragged.
I think what's going to hurt Reynolds the most is the same thing that hurts, say, Will Ferrell. People are just going to get tired of his, shtick that he does because he's the same guy in every movie, all the way back to Van Wilder. But people have liked it, and then just kind of like Will Ferrell. People like it when they're in the middle of it. Adam Sandler too. And then people look back at it and go like, I don't like Adam Sandler comedies. I don't like Will Ferrell comedies. It'll end up getting to be, it's been overdone.
Yeah. Well, and again, I may be the one connecting dots here that aren't connected at all. So you could be completely right, and that she is manipulating the whole situation too. That could very well be. And she does have a mean girl vibe about her.
Yeah, I mean, that's been said since she was on, Gossip Girl, where she tried to have the love interest that they brought in. She tried to turn the whole crew against that guy in the first week, and then was like, oh, never mind, I actually kind of like him, so he can stay. I mean, there's plenty of stories out there about her with that, too, so. I don't know. This was a tier list show. We don't need to go into this crap. We've already been going for a while. 3 hours.
Nah, you're good. All right. With that, we are going to wrap this up, and I want to thank everybody out there for listening. As always, it's a great crowd, and we appreciate it. I want to thank all the folks that were here before. Check out their channels and stuff that they do. Bram, anything you're doing you want to plug on the way out?
Since the last time I was on your channel, I have a new Sunday morning show called The Bullpen, where me and little Chad go through the politics of the week. Just straight politics show. So if you like politics from the conservative leaning side, it is a great show to come check out. It's been consistently growing every week and got me monetized. So we've been doing something right.
All right. Brian, anything you got going on? Usually you have something going on Mondays, don't you?
I won't be doing my normal Monday show with a panel tomorrow. Rebuilding my studio this week. I didn't really have time to do the prep, so I might just do a solo gaming stream instead, just to try my new setup. Baldur's Gate 3, which I've never played before. Normally I don't do turn-based stuff, but I'm going to give it a try. So I'm going to be playing some of that for a couple of hours tomorrow, I think, as a stream. And then, and I got a couple of videos on the latest Korean shows that I'm into. And normal service will be resumed, I'm sure, during the week.
Sounds good. CC, I know it's a touchy subject right now, but anything you got coming up or going on?
No, I'm just trying to survive. It's still the same fallout from a month ago, but
Yeah.
Welcome to New York.
For those who know, yeah. Well, good luck with that, man, and hopefully it works out in some way, shape, or form for you.
Thanks.
But you'll see CC on here, I'm sure, at some point as well, and anywhere else you show up. So, and do check out his channel, just the same, as long as it exists, anyway. Hopefully, yeah.
Same with 70s.
Oh, you're having that problem too?
I got a totally out of the blue takedown and channel strike.
Wow.
Over one image.
For what?
Didn't even get the chance to. It was a legal takedown, and I didn't even get the chance to cut it out myself. I wasn't given any. It wasn't like a claim that I could then do something about. It was straight to strike. Channel strike.
What was the image, or what was, or you don't want to say?
It was just it was to do with the show. It was my live stream on the Ray Harryhausen Sinbad movies.
Mm-hmm. I remember seeing you say something about it. Yeah,
and it was an image. The guy was a photographer and a lawyer, and he struck me. So wasn't just hey, I wouldn't mind you.
It's basically he scans for his image to be used. his photograph to be used, and then does a shakedown of
Yeah.
puts a strike on it, or pay me this amount of money and I will allow you to remove the strike.
That was it. And I said, well,
and it's said by me, not 70s.
Yeah. But I mean, fair enough. It's his property, so I had no idea.
No, I understand. I
one of millions of images on the internet.
Right.
But so a bit of a pain in the ass, as it was a popular stream, but it's still up on Rumble. And I could take the download that I still have from it and drop that bit out and repost it, but lose all the views I've had to date, of course. But that's the hazards of being on YouTube, unfortunately. That we're prone, the way YouTube operates. So.
Oh, one other thing, real quick. Thursday night, I'm probably going to do a watch party for what I'm assuming will be Canada USA Part 2 for the Four Nations Face Off for hockey. So if you're going to watch the hockey game, you can come hang out and do a watch along with us.
It may be the start of World War III.
Could be.
Yep.
Hockey has tried to keep itself out of politics as much as it could, and then it turned into the front-facing politics war between Canada and the U.S.
Line.
It's kind of freaking hilarious.
Last time I watched hockey was the last time Don Cherry was on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole other story. You did him dirty.
All right. With that, let's get on here, as they say.
Alrighty.
Let's see here. We'll just go out with a regular mead.
Night, everybody.
Since I don't have anything.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Cute kitty. Available now for the first time ever on DVD from Midnight's Edge After Dark Productions. It's My Two Dads, the complete first season starring Mexican Iron Man Tom Connors and Culture Casino. Available now for $19.99 while supplies last.